throttle up.
Hello. How you doing? Do you like rockets? Cause this is the place for that. Coffee. No, I hate rockets. Oh, okay. All right. Well, what about like blue Dodge Rams? Do you like those? Do you like those? Blue Dodge? That's kind of nice. Look at this. That's a nice blue Dodge, right? Like, I mean, it's Ram 1500. No big deal. Half ton, short box, quad cab. Okay. More like dark green? You're dark green. Oh, wait, what about that? You like that? That's pretty good. Don't believe it, Tessa. It's that crap box dodge again. So an MLP is on the move at KSC. It might be on the way from High Bay 1. So yeah, okay, we're a little ways out from Relativity's Terran 1 launch. Terran 1 is the first, like, majority 3D printed rocket. Most of that was 3D printed, which is, that's pretty surprising. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. 85%? Yeah. So Terran 1, the GLHF mission. Yes, that means exactly what you think it means. There are a lot of gamers at Relativity. Yeah. Can I print one at my home? It's not made of PLA, guys, or PETG or ABS. It's metal. Does it have fins? No, that's the transporter erector. Yeah, most of this was 3D printed, so it's actually super interesting how Relativity goes and does that. Here, let me take a look. Here, Relativity space. Let me show you. I'm trying to find a video here. Yeah. This is a Veritasium vid, but it has the footage that we're looking for. It's stock footage, so it should be okay. So check this out. They basically have a robotic arm with a welder on the end. It's just, from what I can tell, it's just a MIG welder, right? Pretty much just a MIG welder. And watch this. I mean, it could be a TIG. It could be. I mean, you'd want to make this out of aluminum, so it could be TIG. I'm not 100% sure, right? But that whole robotic arm is on a jig, and that jig can move up and down on a vertical axis here. And what at the end the end result is this. You see that? "3D printed tank sections." Yeah. It's basically just welding bead that they just kind of on top of each other. It's very, very interesting stuff. I'm very curious to see if this thing's going to work. And see, they do the same thing with the engines. All the nozzle components, it's all... I mean, that's Falcon 9. But, yeah. See? All that's 3D printed. Hey, cats. It's almost like clay mold. Yeah, Zavia, right? So that's actually really super freaking interesting. So the end result of all that is this. Watch. Hey, Ryan. Yeah, I know what you mean. Look at that. I'm not sure if it's aluminum or steel. I'm gonna guess aluminum, and if it's aluminum, then that's a TIG welder on that jig. Which is just, I mean, that would make what they're doing even more difficult. Yeah, and actually that much more impressive. Aluminum's a pain to weld, really difficult. Look at that thing. I mean, it's not exactly small. It is a medium-duty launch vehicle, but it's not exactly a small piece of equipment, is it? How much of the rocket is printed? Obviously, like, the nuts and bolts are not printed, Vickers. Like, I'd say probably 85 to 90% of that thing is all printed, which is pretty bananas to me. They do, Journey. Yeah, they do. Those are just tractor trailer tires. I like it. That's cool. No, the fuel lines are printed. Yeah. It's one of the least expensive ways to produce a tube. Yes. Tube. Tube. Aluminum. Yeah, for all intents and purposes, we're just going to call it aluminum and go from there. Tube. So, if I'm remembering correctly, I mean, well, okay, so I'm pretty sure this is methane. Pretty sure this is Methalox, this rocket. Because they have a purge flame. Wouldn't have a purge flame if it was Carolox, and it's definitely not Hydrolox. So that's that. I'm gonna guess methane, guys. And it's really cool. That's Complex 16. It's an old Titan launch pad, which is actually really cool. It's really cool that they're reusing it. There's the blockhouse and everything. I think that's really neat. What are the odds of making it to space? I mean, Joer, there's always a risk. There's always a risk when you put everything out on the pad and hit the go button. So, I mean, look at H3 the other day. There's always a risk. I mean, that rocket, the first stage and the boosters performed beautifully. It's just that damn second stage didn't cooperate. Boot la la la. How are you? I was here. So, yeah, you guys, this is actually kind of a big deal, this launch that they're going to try to do today. Because not only is it like a 3D printed rocket, but I'm fairly confident nobody's ever gotten to space with a methane rocket before. Nobody, and when I say space, I mean orbit. Nobody's ever gotten a Methalox rocket into orbit, ever. No one's done that. Yeah, I ran the ads because somebody redeemed ad time. Here. 10-4 on 420, dude. I'm gonna give you a sub because I can't stand ads. I just can't stand them. I can't stand them. I hate them with a fiery passion.
Discovery,
there you
go at throttle up.
No more ads for you, dude. I hate them that much. I'd rather lose money. I'm not even kidding. I can say that with pretty high honesty, dude. I hate ads that much, man. I can't stand them. They suck so much, dude. It's so distracting. Oh, when you're in the middle of a video trying to learn something and it's like, hey, welcome to Applebee's. It's like,
Discovery, go at throttle up.
So much. Oh. Prop load is underway for Terran 1. Channeling the CEO of Mothers. That guy is my hero, winners. I will only buy Mothers detailing products because of that. I'm not even kidding. This video is brought to you by Website where you can make your own website. Oh. The stream is going live now? Oh, man. Oh, man. We're in. Let's do this. Hacker Man. I'm in. Okay, I broke it. There we go. Hacker Man, I'm in. What's up, Bith? How you doing? And Tape, thank you for the subs, dude. Thank you for the 5 subs. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was going on a little bit. I went off the rails a little bit there with the ad rant. My bad. Kagan, how'd you know? Actually, it was Fidiskada. If you really want to know. Fajiskal. You know what I'm talking about. You know about Fajiskal. Yeah, okay. Do we know which direction this is going? It's probably going east. Yeah, danger. She's probably going just 27-degree incline for a test flight. When is it launching? Well, the T0 time was supposed to be in about 45 minutes. I think it's back a little bit, dudes. Boosters in the countdown is in a hold. It was scheduled for 1 p.m., so that's 42 minutes from now, but it is in a hold currently. Yeah, so once again, if I'm remembering this right, dudes, this should be the first Methalox rocket to ever make it into space. If it works. This is another attempt to see who can do it first. And also, like, the majority of the components on this thing are 3D printed. But yeah, like I said, as far as I can tell, it's a TIG welder. There's a TIG welder on the end of a jig, and that jig just goes whoop, and it's just laying down a bead. That's all it is. And I say that like it's some kind of, oh, that's no big deal. How hard could it be? Like, no, that's tough to get that bead to stick like that. That's difficult. Getting the bead to be consistent like that, yeah, that's hard. That's difficult. I mean, I'm no TIG welder by any means, but I will say I know that TIG welding is difficult. So with TIG welding is like welding meets soldering. You have the tip of the welder, right? And then you have a feed, right? And you have to feed. Oh, here we go. We got music. You have to feed at a certain distance from the tip of the welder, or it's not going to work. If you go too far away, you're not going to liquefy it correctly. You go too close and you hit the tip, it's not going to work. You ground out. And you ruin the tip of your TIG welder. What, it isn't made out of PLA? I don't think so. All right, fellas, I'm going to turn it up. I'm going to equalize the sound here. Yeah, this mission is straight up called Good Luck, Have Fun. I'm not even, yeah, the people at Relativity are a bunch of gamers. They're a bunch of StarCraft nerds. Straight up. Dude.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Good launch, have fries. Good luck, have babies. The only companies I know that sponsor you are Ammunition and Giggle Cream. Yep. Remember, chat, don't dial 911, dial 357. Ammunition, protecting your rights. Oh, anyway.
Good afternoon from Cape Canaveral
Good
Space Force
afternoon.
Station in Florida, where we await the maiden flight of Terran 1, the world's first 3D printed rocket. Today's
Guys, look,
flight
rocket
is
parts.
named Good Luck, Have Fun,
Rocket
or
parts.
GLHF for short. This is Relativity's first ever launch. We'll be bringing you live coverage from Launch Complex 16, our launch pad at Cape Canaveral, as we prepare for historic liftoff. I am Rachel Aniceto, the Chief of Staff for the Vehicle Architecture and Technology team at Relativity Space.
My girl's wicked
I
slat.
support our Chief Architect in the design, development, and product management of our medium to heavy lift reusable launch vehicle, Terran R.
Oh yeah,
And
they're building a
I'm
reusable one, by
Arwatazani
the way.
Kelly, Technical Program Manager for Test and Launch at Relativity Space. I'm responsible for supporting the teams that design, build, and operate our test and launch sites across the country for both our Terran 1 and Terran R vehicles, including for operations on their stages, engines, and propulsion components. Together, we'll be guiding you through our first launch attempt today. Now, the purpose of Good Luck, Have Fun is to test Terran 1's capabilities. This is the first launch, meaning that while we're aiming for Terran 1 to reach orbit, our primary focus is on gathering the data and learnings necessary to develop Terran R, our much larger, medium to heavy lift reusable launch vehicle. The lessons learned from this mission will also enable us to improve our software-driven approach to manufacturing.
Yeah.
Today's launch includes many firsts. Terran 1 is the first 3D printed rocket, which is 85% 3D printed by mass, and is in a race to become the first Methalox-propelled rocket to achieve orbit.
Word.
If orbit is achieved, Relativity will
I'm
also become the first venture-backed
Down in
space
front,
company
EJ.
to have successfully reached orbit on its first flight.
And it's worth noting that while Terran 1 will be capable of lifting 1,250 kilograms into low Earth orbit or LEO,
2,500
today's
pounds.
launch does not have a customer payload. We do, however, have a memento on board, one that's quite unique to Relativity that we'll tell you a little bit more about later.
Get out.
Liftoff is currently scheduled approximately 56 minutes from now. This estimation may change as we work through our countdown. We'll keep you updated along the way. Today's launch window lasts for about 3 hours, giving us time to troubleshoot any issues. If any unforeseen issues arise during the countdown, we can pause the launch sequence if necessary. And with that, Arwa, what's the mission status update?
Well, as you said, we're at T-minus 55 minutes and counting. We just received confirmation that propellant load is wrapping up for both stages. The weather is...
Why do they sound like AI? Well, just in a produced cast like that, you reading off a teleprompter. And when you're reading off a teleprompter and trying to listen to the countdown loop, you notice they both have headsets on. They're listening to the countdown loop, reading off the teleprompter, and, making sure you don't look like a complete doofus on stream. You end up sounding a lot like this trying to read off of a teleprompter. It ends up sounding a lot like AI-driven voice because you're trying to speak clearly and concisely. Yeah, dude, I'm not knocking on Relativity. I'm not knocking on anybody. I can't do that. I've tried to do that before, and I'm just like, wow, I hate this. I really hate this.
This is the largest metal 3D printed object to exist.
I don't do
much
that.
less attempt
I just
orbital
kind
flight. It is 85% 3D printed by mass, and there are 9 Aeon 1 engines on the first stage and a single Aeon vacuum engine on the second stage.
Interesting.
All Aeon engines are, of course, 3D printed.
You have no filter.
Terran 1 and Terran R are both Methalox rockets. This means that they use a combination of liquid natural gas, predominantly composed of liquid methane, and liquid oxygen, hence Methalox. This propellant combination is becoming the choice for next-generation reusable vehicles, including our next rocket, Terran R. We believe it will also be easiest to eventually transition to methane on Mars. The important thing here is that Terran 1 will give us parallel learning for Terran R. And we'll dive deeper into Terran 1 and share updates on Terran R development over the course of the webcast. But in the meantime, Rochelle, let's talk a little bit about...
All right, so a little bit on this thing real quick. I'm just going to butt in for a second. The flame on the side, it's a purge flame. Methane, like liquid oxygen, liquid hydrogen, it boils. It boils at super low temperature at high pressure, boiling point and stuff. So you're going to get gaseous methane. You don't vent gaseous methane into the atmosphere. Captain Planet will come and punch you in the stomach. Don't do that. So, not that you guys are going to do that with your rockets, but yeah, that's why you don't vent methane overboard. That's unless you absolutely have to, like in the event of an emergency. So they have a purge flame over there to give a place for the methane to burn off. The other thing is that methane, even though it's CH4, so it's chemical makeup CH4, so carbon and 4 hydrogen. That's still hydrogen. There's still a lot of hydrogen there. You don't want to get like a geysering effect or anything like that, because methane will still find a place to explode if you don't give it a place to explode. That's not a good thing. You don't want that. The thing about when you're dealing with cryogenic gases like this is that they're hard to manage. Harder to manage when you're using cryogenics. The reason why it's harder to manage is because it's boiling. It's at high pressure. It really doesn't want to be liquid. It wants to turn to gas. So if you don't give the methane a place to burn off, it'll find a place to burn off. And that place that it finds to burn off is probably not where you want it to be. It's definitely not going to be in the rocket engines, that's for sure. So, yeah, that's why you have the purge flame for environmental purposes, but more importantly, you don't want the flames to come out anywhere on the sides. You really want the flames to just come out the bottom when the thing goes off, you know what I'm saying?
To date, Relativity has publicly announced nearly a dozen signed customers for commercial and U.S. government payloads. Some customers include OneWeb, Iridium, NASA, and the Defense Innovation Unit. Currently, Relativity's customer contracts amount to more than $1.65 billion. Relativity is a private venture-backed company. To date, we have raised over $1.3 billion in capital with our most recent $650 million Series E round.
That's right. I do want to switch gears for a minute here. I think
So Relativity, obviously there's some confidence behind this type of engineering. They have investors from all over the place, dude. So much so that if you guys look, if we just back out for a moment here, Relativity. So are you guys familiar with the Globemaster 3? The C-17? Relativity straight up bought the factory that they made, that Boeing and previously McDonnell Douglas were making C-17s in. They bought the factory down in Long Beach. The entire thing. C-17s are not a small airplane. That's a big freaking factory. So if we go over here and we look at Long Beach, you got to get out of Long Beach tonight, Johnny B. No? If we go look, you go look at Long Beach Airport over here. See that big chunker right there? This one. That is where they made the C-17. You can tell that's where they made the C-17 because of the way it is. It literally says Globemaster 3 on the hangar. And yes, we can see that. That is not a small building. So Relativity clearly has some confidence behind what they're trying to do here with 3D printed rockets, and they clearly want to scale up pretty hard, which is kind of nuts when you think about it. That's insane that they're already in that big of a factory. That's really good. That's a good thing. We want more rockets. But yeah, that is no small building right there. I mean, if you just look at the doors right there. That should tell you. I mean, this was where McDonnell Douglas and later Boeing, post-97, assembled C-17s. The entire C-17 Globemaster 3 fleet was built right there. And they're using it to build rockets now, which is actually really cool. It's really neat.
Sites, giving us confidence that we're able to execute on Terran R and help us solve all the hard problems that come with building a medium to heavy lift reusable rocket. As a business, we're following a Pathfinder product development approach. The Terran 1 that you see on the pad today has always been our Pathfinder. It was designed to be a development platform for Terran R, and it has served us exceedingly well to date in that capacity as we progress through printing and testing ahead of today's launch. Arwa, maybe let's dive deeper into what we might call a success for today's launch.
Yeah, absolutely. Clearing the pad, getting out over the ocean, and passing the point of maximum dynamic pressure, or max Q, would be a big inflection point for today's launch. This is because it's the point where the structural loads on the vehicle are the highest, making it one of the most challenging phases of flight. This is the point in flight where we really want to prove much of what has already been proven on the ground. During acceptance testing, the vehicle withstood loads even beyond what we anticipate it will encounter during flight. So passing this milestone would effectively demonstrate that 3D printed rockets are structurally viable. If we make it even further to stage separation, we will have achieved a full first stage flight, and that'll be another big accomplishment from the team. From there, we'll attempt to light the second stage and get Terran 1 to orbit.
So at this point, I'll be honest, it'll take some restraint to keep us seated here. If the stages of flight were a video game, this is where I would start to feel like it's a bonus round unlock. And just as a reminder, since today is our first flight, for stage 2, we are targeting a 200 kilometer by 210 kilometer orbit, which is not a traditional orbital target. But that is our target today, given that this is our first launch and not a customer mission.
That's right, and we have strict safety protocols in effect for today's flight and are closely coordinating with the FAA and Space Launch Delta 45. These protocols are, of course, standard for all launches and ensure that no one would be in harm's way if there were to be an anomaly.
And as a reminder, there is no customer payload on this flight. Instead, to celebrate how far we've come, we've mounted our first ever metal 3D print from the first generation Stargate printer inside of Terran 1's nose cone. And while we're on the topic of setting expectations, we will also note that we are unsure how much of the second stage flight we will be able to share with you live. While we do have cameras on board, we will be prioritizing vehicle telemetry sensor data for this launch in order to maximize our learnings, and as a result, the video connection could be spotty. In the event that we do lose our video, we will do our best to keep you up to date as we receive telemetry. Now let's talk about the countdown overview.
Well, the window for today's launch attempt opens at 1300 Eastern Time and lasts for 3 hours. The pad was cleared of all personnel at T-4 hours, followed by the start of propellant loading. Propellant loading is now wrapping up, as I mentioned, and we're currently going to continue topping off our tanks and conditioning our propellant after that. At approximately T-20 to T-15 minutes, the launch director will poll the launch teams to ensure that all subsystems, weather, and the range are go for terminal count.
Why so serious?
Terminal count will then be at T-70 seconds, and it's when the vehicle's internal flight computer takes control of the countdown. Now,
Look at how windy it is, dudes.
let's talk about the process
The entire
that
transporter
involves
erector
it.
is moving
again, Terran
relative to the lightning rod.
85% 3D printed by mass. The items
The
that
whole
are
thing's
not
moving
3D
back and
printed
forth. Look at how much
include
it's shaking.
rubber seals, computer chips,
They might.
valves, and other similar
That's windy.
items.
That's pretty windy.
Relativity sees 3D printing as an
We'll see.
automation technology, and we believe that long-term...
Which launch provider is Relativity? Relativity is the launch provider. This is the Relativity is the name of the company, guys. Terran 1 is the name of the rocket. The mission is GLHF. Yes, it means that.
classes of...
Is this at the Cape? Yeah, LC-16. Complex 16, which is an X-Titan 2 launch pad. It's been refitted for Terran 1. Good luck, have fun. Yep. The founder of Relativity Space is a gentleman by the name of Tim Ellis. Tim Ellis is a StarCraft nut. Oh yeah, he's a StarCraft nutcase. That's why it's called Terran 1. Battle cruiser operational. Hailing frequencies open.
For PBF, we use this technology to print our Aeon engines. These are the 9 Aeon 1 engines on the first stage and the single Aeon vacuum engine on the second stage. PBF has allowed us to increase our reliability through lowering our part count.
And on the other hand,
Part count.
our proprietary Stargate printers use WAM for printing the vehicle structure. The material we use is a proprietary metal alloy developed in-house. It begins in a wire spool, and that wire is then fed into a Stargate printer. It's then heated and cooled rapidly to form small beads that, in succession, create the vehicle structure layer by layer.
Oh.
That includes the Stage 1 and Stage 2 tanks that hold the propellant, their internal ribs, the common domes, and the nose cone. This is essentially what makes up the bulk of the visible part of the vehicle on the pad, except now it's painted white instead of the native silver that you see here. Now, I do want to mention that our Terran 1 was vertically printed using our 3rd generation printer, but our 4th generation printer will move horizontally to increase print sizes for our next vehicle, Terran R. But of course, the star of today's show is still Terran 1.
That's right. Let's do a deeper dive into Terran 1 and walk through the architecture shown on the screen.
Discovery, go at throttle.
Terran 1, as
Nico.
mentioned before, is
Have
110
fun.
feet tall and 7.5 feet in diameter. Starting from the left-hand side of the diagram and at the bottom of the vehicle are 9 Aeon 1 engines. As mentioned before, these are printed using powder bed fusion
Hey, Gonzalez, what's up, dude?
technology. Each Aeon 1 engine has a thrust capability of about 23,000 pounds at sea level. In total, this gives us a max total liftoff thrust of more than 200,000 pounds. The Aeon 1 engine is designed with a gas generator cycle, and each of these engines also has thrust vector control actuators, or TVCAs, to gimbal the engines during
That's
flight.
correct, Sergeant. Yep.
We have completed more than 2,000 engine hot fires and 10,000 seconds of runtime across 191 Aeon 1 hot fire tests. The Aeon 1 engines are attached to the vehicle through the thrust structure. This is what takes the load from the thrust coming from the engines. And above the thrust structure is the stage WAM printed tanks that Arwa just spoke about. These hold the liquid oxygen propellant on the top tank and the liquid natural gas on the bottom tank. The tanks are actually pressurized using an autogenous pressurization system during flight. We run propellant through heat exchangers mounted on the engines, which convert liquid propellant into a gaseous state, and this is piped back into the top of the tanks to maintain the required tank pressures. Above stage 1 is the WAM printed interstage, which holds the stage separation mechanisms. For stage separation, we use pneumatically actuated pushers. Above the interstage is stage 2, which has a single Aeon vacuum engine. This engine has a thrust capability of more than 25,000 pounds in vacuum and has the capability of multiple restarts. Stage 2 also has WAM printed tanks just like stage 1. And above stage 2 is the WAM printed nose cone. For future missions, this would be replaced with a fairing and also have a fairing separation system. We have no customer payload for today's launch since this is our first launch. The payload capacity of Terran 1 is 1,250 kilograms to low Earth orbit or LEO and 900 kilograms to sun synchronous orbit for our customer missions. All data from Terran 1 development will be fed into Terran R. But our Terran 1 rocket is only a part of the formula. We also have a historic launch location.
That's right. We are launching today from historic Launch Complex 16 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Between 1959 and 1988, this site supported a total of 141 launches. It was initially built for the Titan missile launches, and it was transferred to NASA for Gemini crew processing and static test firing of the Apollo service module's propulsion engine. The Air Force then used it from 1972 to 1988 for the Pershing missile launches. After that, the site sat abandoned, and Relativity then got the right of entry in 2019. In 2020, we initiated land clearing and construction. We built the whole site from scratch, and in less than 2 years, the team cleared, demoed, and built the pad to what you see here today. This includes the pad deck, the transporter erector, all the commodities and utilities, the office space, and of course the integration hangar. We conducted multiple hot fire tests after that and are here today to launch. Good luck, have fun. This will be the site's first launch in over 35 years. Now let's take a minute to visit our facilities across the country.
Yes, let's. Hey, I just did this. Video audio is just a wee bit overdriven. Status.
Three, two, 1, 0.
Going throttle up.
AFD. That's what it looks like now. Don't say anything, Elfish. Count as enter. Seattle. Circus. Some of them ran, yeah. Count has entered a hold there. What time are going to start playing KSP2? When this is done, G Poly. Maximum amount of time, about 2 or 3 hours. Minimum amount of time, about an hour, hour and a half, something like that. Then we'll get back to building out that rocket in the Eve mission. Yeah, it's a little windy on the ground, dude. Hodl. Yeah, no, we don't like hodls here. You don't want diamond hands. Not on this stream. Questionable font choice. Looks like they're in holo. What's the hold for? Not sure. Oh, they resumed. Count is resumed, guys.
All right, and a quick status update here. We are just over T-minus 36 minutes and counting. You may have seen a brief moment where the T clock said hold, but that was just a graphical error. We are still
LC16.
go as of now. Weather violations are tracking none.
Discovery, go and
The
throttle up.
medium gust winds at 22 miles an hour are still within range. The clouds
What
are
did you-
still within the limits.
Can
The
I-
range is
can I-
great.
Can I just back up for a second?
All right, and a quick status update here. We are just over T-minus 36 minutes and counting. You may have seen a brief moment where the T clock said hold, but that was just a graphical error. We are still go as of now. Weather violations are tracking none. Surrounding the pad make up our lightning protection system. They protect the vehicle from any
skipped a live,
direct
guys.
lightning strikes. Inside of those, we have 4 small black posts around the pad called rainbirds. They're used for acoustic mitigation for the rocket and do so by covering the pad with water to dampen the reflected acoustics. The small flame that you see there at the bottom right of your screen is the flare stack. It burns off flammable gases from propellant loading, venting operations, and priming of the engine igniters. It's a little harder to see, but the small slide-looking structure beneath the vehicle, there it is our water-cooled flame diverter. It's used to mitigate the heat from lighting the engines, and it
Tubes.
directs the exhaust
Discovery,
plumes
go and
away
throttle up.
from
No,
the vehicle.
thank you. C22,
You'll also be
42
able to
months.
see what looks to be 3 different levels under the rocket. The largest and lowest level is the pad deck, and directly above it is the launch table. This is where the launch mount pins to the pad and creates that flame duct.
Discovery, go
The
and
launch
throttle up.
mount on top
Will.
of it is
Thanks,
one
buddy.
component of the transporter erector. It transfers loads into the pad deck during hot fire tests and, of course, at engine ramp up at launch. It also contains the release system, or hold downs, and the quick disconnect or QD carriages that provide propellant and other commodities to
This
the
thing right
vehicle
there,
when it's on the ground.
Quick disconnect. These things with
Now,
the
I do just want to take a
angled up
moment
boxes,
to
those are the hold
thank
downs.
and give a shout out to the ground crews out here for all of their hard work. They've helped us build and operate our launch infrastructure, and they support vehicle integration and testing at one of the most historic launch sites in the United States. As you can imagine, there's a lot of
Sun
work that
Temple?
happens at the pad to properly prepare for launch.
the wind's blowing the
their
ice
work
off the rocket.
includes the design, build, and installation of launch equipment, creating and implementing the relevant procedures, integrating the vehicle, troubleshooting it, and working with our engineering teams to ensure that we optimize the vehicle and operations every step of the way. Thank you all for your amazing work.
These teams have also supported our rigorous test campaigns. While this doesn't guarantee success, it certainly helps us given we're attempting so many firsts. As a reminder, we're launching the first 3D printed rocket. We're racing to have the first Methalox rocket to reach orbit, and we're hoping to be the first venture-backed space company to have successfully reached orbit on its first flight.
Just an interesting observation. They have another launch table right there. There's another launch table sitting up on jack stands. You think I'm kidding. Those are, space jack stands. Right here. Oh, they cut the camera. There's another launch table over there, which is interesting. There's 2 of them.
Fire arc
Probably
and
good redundancy, I suppose.
These are then integrated together, and then the stage is taken to structural testing. This structural testing is also completed at Long Beach. This structural testing includes filling the tanks with water to do a pressure-proof test and also testing with structural loads. After testing and final integration, Stage 2 was transported to NASA Stennis, where we completed a full flight duration hot fire test. After structural testing
pretty
and
good to say
final
you did it first,
integration
Tim.
of Stage 1 hot fire testing was actually done here at Launch Complex 16. Stage 1 hot fire used a special mount to simulate loads during flight. 6 ignitions of the Aeon-1 engines
windy.
resulted in 185 seconds
lightning
of
rod.
hot fire on all 9 of those engines.
Ooh, hello.
Then we integrated Stage 2 and the nose cone after hot fire testing, and now we are here for our first launch. Let's take a look at our journey to launch.
$15 pass, Juice, or whoever asked, who's it? Lewis, do T0? Yeah, so the count is in the top left, guys. So we're about a half hour out. That's Tim Ellis. That's the guy that that's the founder of the company.
Discovery, go and throttle
Yeah,
up.
look, see, that's how they 3D print it. Pretty crazy, right? It looks like it, Vega, yeah. Gonna need a montage. Montage! Ooh, it takes a montage. Montage! Anytime you want to go from just a beginner to a pro, you need a montage. 2,500 pounds less. About 2,500 pounds in space. That's an HVLP spray gun. That's car paint. That's automotive paint. I have one of those. Even Rocky had a montage. Oh, look at that. That's pretty nice. Shipping to Stennis. That's cool, man. Not bother with paint. Well, it's got to look nice. 5 cover. Truck. There's a processing ring in there, right? That's right. Everyone uses those, man. I'm telling you. When I build in Kerbal, we use the same exact design mentality. Processing rings. There's one right there. See? They're everywhere. They basically saran wrap the stage. Yeah, so it doesn't get banged up on when it's being transported. That's a big trailer. Smiling, doing things. That's cool, man. Bird! Bird! That's cool. Bio cranes. I know those guys. That's cool, man. Look at that. That's pretty neat. Yeah, I see it, Thomas. They want to eventually scale to on-orbit. Guys, help me. My blender is stuck in the washing machine. Atlantic, they want to start by building launch vehicles, but they eventually want to move to on-orbit 3D printing and manufacturing so they can build bigger ships in space. That's Relativity's ultimate goal. They want to make battle cruisers in space. I'm not even kidding. That's what their goal is.
Approach T-minus 25 minutes. We're going to stand by for a situational briefing from the launch director, Clay Walker, in Mission Control. Let's listen in.
Clay. Bill Clay Walker. Okay. Land Center or Mission Control? I'll let you decide. Yeah, no, I'm telling you, Tim Ellis, the guy that runs this company, is a StarCraft nutcase. They want to make like battle cruisers in space. That's their end goal. True story. Why not both? Okay. So that's a live shot of Mission Control. We're inside of 25 minutes here. Yeah, Yannick, I didn't mind it. Who we battling in space? Zerg. That's a Zerglin, Lester. Smaller type of Zerg. But I don't know. Oh, shoot. So, guys, Relativity... What Relativity's trying to do is they have software-driven 3D printing, okay? So, obviously, most 3D printing is software-driven, right? But the idea is that they can manufacture faster than everybody else. The way that they 3D print these tanks and the way that they 3D print it allows them to basically eliminate the production bottlenecks that are usually associated with making rockets. When you make rockets, you have to mill out a piece of aluminum, right? An aluminum sheet that's gigantic, right? And then you have to mill it. You have to mill a grid shape into it, and then you have to put it through a brake. You have to bend the stupid plate, and then you have to put those plates together, weld those together, and then put the domes together on top of that. That takes time. That takes time, but that kind of aluminum lithium stir welded way is tried and tested, but it does take time. With 3D printing, they can just zap a freaking first stage out in a couple of days. The entire structure in a couple of days, which that's a lot quicker than like a month that it takes to manufacture like another rocket. So the idea is that they're going to get telemetry from this vehicle. The telemetry downlinks, the presenters, they said that, you know, the telemetry downlink is super freaking important. Now, don't get me wrong, that's the case with most rockets. That's part of the reason why you don't see onboards, especially on test flights, because they usually have more what's called DFI sensors on them, developmental flight instrumentation sensors. So sensors that are there to get all the data, to get a ton more data on the vehicle than you would ever need. The reason why is it's the test flight. You have to understand what you made, right? So because there's a lot more sensors and you're not getting the rocket back, you can't like have a black box on it or something. All that telemetry needs to be downlinked in real time, and it needs to be recorded locally probably at Mission Control if I had to guess, right? So all those extra DFI sensors will eat up all the bandwidth on the rocket, but that's what you need to get this to work right. Like that, or that's what you need to understand what you made. That's really important. So what they're going to do, what Relativity wants to do, is take all that data and feed it into a neural net. Seriously, this is what they mean when they say software driven. They want to feed it into an AI and have the AI conditions set up to understand where you can more efficiently print the vehicle to A, lower manufacturing time, and B, figure out like structurally where it needs to be like reinforced or where it doesn't need to be reinforced or where you can print it lighter, right? Like you don't need to use as much bead or something. This rapid iteration and elimination of production bottlenecks, basically, this is why they have so much funding behind them, because that can basically open up the door for mass-produced rockets. And not only are they mass-produced rockets, but it's mass-produced iterative with AI software-backed production. So all they have to do, they feed the telemetry into their AI, right? And the AI will figure out places where it needs to be printed better or printed less, right? And it'll optimize the rocket. The rocket gets more efficient over time. It's actually really smart. They're not the only ones that do that. SpaceX does something like that, but SpaceX does that with telemetry, like in terms of flight. They're in a hold. They're recycled. SpaceX does that by comparing telemetry of past Falcon flights with future Falcon flights or with current Falcon flights so they can optimize trajectory. They don't necessarily do that with the manufacturing end of things, which is, yeah, the manufacturing end of thing is Relativity's big stick. That's a big deal. They set a new T0 of 2 p.m. So, yeah, there you go. Do they 3D print the engines? Zombie, about 85% of the components on this rocket are 3D printed.
Clock is due to us wanting to get more time for propellant conditioning. We're going to stand by to hear more from Mission Control, but as of now, we are launching at 1400 Eastern.
2 p.m. Have you worked at NASA, or do you just do a lot of research? Skinny, yeah, I've never worked at NASA. I've worked with them at like TwitchCon and stuff. I hosted panels with them. I'm on their good graces as far as I know. But yeah, no, I'm self-taught when it comes to this stuff, guys. Oh. There's a strong back purge. Interesting. So for someone who isn't a StarCraft nutcase, they want to make a what? A battle cruiser. Battle cruiser. Big spaceships in space, Salyut. Big spaceships in space. And they want to use the 3D printing technology to do it. So yeah, no, I'm self-taught when it comes to this stuff, guys. I have no formal engineering background, but I got a lot of people fooled. Let me put it that way. Right on, Skinny. Thank you. I appreciate that. There's no payload on Top Bandit. They just have a nose cone. No payload systems. No fairing separation systems on this. It's just a nose cone up on the front. Rocket Newbie here. What are those white mists evaporating from the rocket? So that's condensation, X-Red, from the cryogenic propellants. Cryogenic propellants is a really cool sciencey way of saying the fuel and the oxidizer on board are really cold. So the fuel, obviously, that's pretty straightforward stuff. It's liquid methane, right? So they're using natural gas. Well, I'll tell you what, boy, they should be using propane. Good quality American propane from Strickland. Anyway, sorry. So the fuel on board is the fuel. And so why are they carrying oxidizer with them? Well, they're carrying oxidizer with them because where the rocket goes, there's no air. There's no oxygen up there, right? So you got to bring the oxygen with you. So they're using liquid oxygen too. And the reason, if you want to carry oxygen as a liquid, right? And if you want to carry methane as a liquid, which are two commonly found as gases down here, right? They have to be super freaking cold. So once again, cryogenic propellants is a real sciencey way of saying that your fuel and oxidizer are extremely freaking cold. Yeah, extremely freaking cold. This qualifies as a propane accessory, boy. I tell you what. So, sorry, just kind of go back and forth between movie quotes and explanations. What do you want? So, because the propellants are super cold, what they're doing is they're actually freezing the humidity in the atmosphere. That's why you get ice accumulation on the outside of the rocket. It's the same kind of phenomenon if you take like a cold snack out of the fridge in the middle of a hot summer day. It sweats on the outside. Same idea. But because the temperature differential is so ridiculously high, so those propellants are really, really, really cold. You don't just condense on the outside. It turns to ice. It's literally taking the ambient water vapor in the atmosphere and freezing it up against the rocket because those propellants are so freaking cold. That's a good question, man. Thank you. Yeah, good one. It's not vaping? No, not vaping. Does the ice on the side add mass? Of course it does, Orion. But most of it comes off when the rocket launches. It'll all just fall off. Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? Wood, 40 months. Thanks, dude. Is the first stage self-landing like Falcon 9? That's another good question. No. The Terran 1 rocket is expendable, but... Here, let's see if Terran R has a page. Yes, it does.
Discovery, go at
This
throttle
is what they're cooking up in the future. Relativity is cooking up a fully reusable solution called Terran R here. Let's just throw into a quick goggly search. That's what they're cooking up in the future. It is a two-stage fully reusable rocket. That's a good picture of it. We can use that. Funky Monkey. Brass Monkey. Tier 1 sub. Thanks, man. Welcome to Mission Control. You go at throttle up. And Spitfire 34 with the prime sub. Thanks, man. So, yeah, they're working on this in the future. This thing is going to be two-stage, fully reusable, 3D printed. That rocket, this is Terran R. Terran R is going to be about the size of Falcon 9. So, we're talking about a heavy-duty launch vehicle. So, about 15 to 20 tons to low Earth orbit in a fully reusable configuration that's 3D printed, which is pretty hardcore. That's what they want to scale to right now. Terran 1 is just basically a prototype. Hey, and go 57 months. Thank you. Yeah, man, the more I watch you, the more I like your stream, and the more I wonder why I haven't jumped on your channel for the past few years, and why the frick Twitch recommends me some GTA channels. No, Ampius, no problem, dude. Hey, tell your friends, man. Tell your friends. I want people to learn about this stuff, man. This is cool. It's not just like, dude, it's cool. Like, rockets are easy to sell, man, because, you know, you can sell people on the nerd stuff, but you can sell everybody else on the big ball of fire that's going to come out of the bottom of this thing in an hour or so. That's pretty freaking cool, right? You know, but hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Discovery, go
And
at
you
throttle
got
up.
gifted a sub, you know? It's fun, man. This is good stuff. It's a good time. What does the production time look like from start to finish with one of the rockets? I'm not 100% sure on that one, Huzzah. I know it's not as crazy as you think. Yeah, the bio-optimized grid fins. Yep. Once again, software-driven design. Neural net software-driven design. It's real nerd stuff that these guys are doing. Hey, Hatsuki! Welcome to Mission Control. You're going throttle up. Thanks, buddy. You're learning stuff. That's right. That's right, dudes. Ground control, we have a problem. You're not subbed yet. Houston,
go at throttle up.
we have a problem. Okay. Yep. Nope. We have remedied the problem, and we've worked the problem, people. Jurs, we've worked the problem. Roger, Tranquility. Copy on the ground. Yeah. There's the other launch table over there for static firing. That's the real one. Problem evaded. Mission is go. Roger, go. Roger, go from chat.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Hey, Ram647, 6-month resub. Thanks, buddy. That company could 3D print a Death Star. It would be a moon at that point, wouldn't it? I'm really rooted for these guys. Their tech is so cool. Yeah, no, it's pretty hardcore stuff, dude. Detripid, I will teach anyone that wants to learn about rockets. I don't care who it is, you know. If we have to teach some Rule 8 people, I'll go talk their ear off. They'd probably be like, all right, shut up. I'd be like, no, I'm not. No, it's not a moon. It's too big to... No, they couldn't print a space station that big. It's too big to be a space station. Yeah, guys, hey, just as a reminder, because I like to have kind of a teaching atmosphere in here, just try not to curse in here. And I know that some of you guys, like, dude, whatever, you let it fly, but I try to keep it a little more classy than most Twitch streams, because yeah, that was me. I screwed it up. Here, let's get back over here and boop, go back to live. There we go. Prepare to fast forward. Preparing to fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir. Fast forwarding. Yeah, I try to keep it a little bit clean because I like to teach people. A lot of viewers watch with their kids, man. We gotta hook them while they're young. Hook them while they're young. George Carlin said that. Good stuff. So, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't mind, dude. I curse like a sailor off stream. Don't tell anybody. And sometimes on stream. Usually when we get into after hours, that's my 18+ segment where we have like a more regular Twitch stream. Like, But yeah, they try to keep it classy during the day. You know, if you could, fellas, I'd appreciate it. No, I'm not doing that. Is the company still fund? They're not self-funded, Drawer. They have investors. They completed the Series E round of investment, and they have over. I think they said about $1 billion in investment, which is, I mean, that shows pretty damn high confidence behind an idea like this. And I'll be honest, I think Relativity's on the right track. That's a really smart idea, because eliminating production bottlenecks, and dude, I mean, whoever can come up with the idea of mass producing rockets that's going to be crazy. I mean, that's what SpaceX is trying to do. SpaceX is trying to do that with Starship. They're really trying to move to the next level of being able to mass produce rockets. Relativity is going at that with their own approach, you know. What do you tell people that think NASA used CGI in the Apollo missions and faked the moon landing? They can think whatever they want, Mercs. I'm not here to change anybody's opinion. I'm here to teach differences. You know what I mean? If people want to think that, you can think that, dude. I don't care. All right, you know, I don't try to force anything down people's throats. That's when stuff gets weird. You know what I mean? If they want to think that, you want to think that. But I mean, I don't know, man. I'm pretty damn sure that happened. I think pretty much think it'd be harder to fake gravity down here than it would be up there. Just saying. Just putting it out there. No, he wasn't dethroned. Anyway, hold on.
T minus 49 minutes. As a reminder, we set back the T clock to allow us more time for propellant conditioning. In the meantime, why don't we talk about Stage 2 MDC?
Right,
Great idea.
I'm going to shut up for a
One of
second,
the approaches
guys.
we take here at Relativity is to be focused on having a lot of hardware that we can test in order to reduce our risk getting into flight. One attempt that we tried to do that was paved out through successful testing was Stage 2 hot fire testing. This is where we took Stage 2 to NASA Stennis, and we integrated the Aeon vacuum engine with a stub nozzle. For this test, we
control. We have loss of signal.
For this test, we filled the tanks with our cryogenic propellant, and this is also where we were able to fire the engine and see interactions between the engine as well as the stage.
Yeah, they're doing TV. If they're doing TVP, Ted, you got a one racks fast expand. One racks fast expand, because those zealots are coming at the beginning of mid game. Yeah. You weren't expecting that out of me, were you? Zealots are coming right at the beginning of early game, right at the start of mid game. You have to one racks expand if you're doing TVP. Just saying. Yep. No, you didn't see that one coming.
My name is Zach Rubin. I'm the second stage RE. We're here. We have the flight engine on the flight stage, and we are going to do a full mission simulation, starting with terminal count through Stage 1 burn and Stage 2 burn. Obviously, Stage 2 burn is going to be the main event, and if it all goes well, we'll accept it for flight.
It's not PLA. It's printed aluminum, Wiley.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Okay. To be 100% honest with you guys, I have not played StarCraft since Wings of Liberty, so my meta for StarCraft play might be a little bit out of date by like a decade, bro. So you're gonna have to bear with me on that one.
Discovery,
First
go
attempt.
Hey,
and
Detrofit.
Full duration on the first
10
try.
subs,
It's
thanks.
really cool to see all the teams finally come together. Avionics,
Thanks
flight
for that,
software,
man. I
ground
appreciate it.
software, prop, fluids, stage, and ground systems. Really cool to be a part of.
I want to see the multipass. Multipass is in the house.
No,
Point
it's
Blank
not.
Ted. Hey, thanks, man. Welcome to Mission Control. You go with throttle up. Yeah, that's right, Hellfish. Yep. No problem, sure. It's all good, man. Thank you, though. I do appreciate it, guys. Thank you for the support. Multipass. What? Just vibing. Leave me alone. What's the tower fire for? So that's a methane purge line. right there, the rocket is using liquid methane and liquid oxygen for its fuel and oxidizer. With liquid methane, you have to give it a place to burn off for multiple reasons. There's environmental concern. Venting gaseous methane in the atmosphere is not really good for it. And the second part of that is if you don't give the methane a place to burn off, because the methane inside of this thing is boiling. It's boiling because it's at extremely high pressure at extremely low temperature. So because it's boiling off, you have to give it a vent. If you don't give it a place to vent, and if you don't give it a place to purge off like that, a purge flame, it'll find a place to purge. And that place that you want it to purge is probably not where you want fire to be. Yeah. So they have a methane purge flame here. That basically scavenge the gaseous methane that forms in the tanks, and it goes out to that flame. That flame is basically working like a gigantic Bunsen burner.
Discovery, go at throttle.
It's a big Bunsen burner. That's what it is. Remember those things from science class? Yeah, those. Schmoog, 96 months and Forlorn with the bits. Thank you very much. No, Pete, I haven't, but that sounds pretty funny. About if you want to get perms from a moderator, yeah, sure. Really enjoy this? Heck yeah, man. A glorious, massive, forbidden Bunsen burner. Yep, that's what it is. So Bunsen burner because it takes the oxidizer, right? Well, it's using air and gaseous methane, right, to make that flame. That flame, you know, you light it on fire, it'll expand, right, and that expand creates a vacuum and it pulls the gas. It pulls the gas through the system. It's not a passive system per se, but that's basically what it does. A big Bunsen burner. You're live.
As we continue to wait, can we get a brief update on the mission?
Yeah, can we?
Going on today.
Yes, so we are a little bit less than about 50 minutes until launch. We are still we took it back to be able to condition our propellant, so we're still doing that at the moment. But the range is green and the weather is looking great.
We are still moving forward, team. As we continue to wait, we just saw a video about Stage 2 mission duty cycle testing. We reached that full mission duty cycle duration for Stage 2. Similar to Stage 2, for Stage 1, we also completed stage hot fire testing. However, that was here at Launch Complex 16 instead of at NASA's.
So, Game Coder, what is propellant conditioning? Propellant conditioning is a nice way of saying that the propellants weren't cold enough. Yeah, you have to get the liquid methane and the liquid oxygen at the right temperatures, and there's not necessarily a narrow window for oxygen. It's the methane. The methane can only exist as a liquid in a very small temperature gap. So, every type of compound, like chemical compound or element or whatever, you can have solid, liquids, and gas versions of it, right? And the window, there's always a window in temperature where this exists as a liquid, or this, like oxygen exists as a liquid, or oxygen exists as a gas, or even oxygen, if you get it cold enough, it could be solid. You can turn oxygen into solid oxygen if you really want to. Usually you don't want that with a case of rockets because solid oxygen doesn't flow into the engines very well. Yeah, SpaceX had a problem with that a little while ago, but that's since been fixed. So there's a narrow window for methane to exist as a liquid. It's not as bad as like hydrogen. Hydrogen has like maybe a 5 Kelvin window where it exists as a liquid, so it's really hard to deal with. Methane is a little bit bigger, but propellant conditioning basically means that they don't have it dead center in that window. You don't want it to go too far this way because it'll turn to gas, right? That's not good. And you don't want it too far to the other way or it could solidify. However, I think methane would be extremely hard to solidify because it's hydrogen. You could probably do it, but hydrogen is really hard to make into a solid. The window for hydrogen to be a solid, like in terms of temperature, is like a fraction of Kelvin, of like 1 Kelvin. It's ridiculous. Yeah, that's probably not going to happen. But yeah, the conditioning the propellants is a nice way to say that the propellants weren't the right temperatures. And you have to get them the right temperatures because they have to be perfectly liquid. You don't want snow cone, right? And there are cases where you do kind of want that, but this rocket doesn't want a snow cone going into the engines, and it doesn't want gas going into the engines either. You have to get the temperatures right. If you don't get the temperatures right, it's not going to work. You'll break something. How do they keep the propellants cold when they sit in the rocket? They top them off. Tactical. Top them off. So you notice how it's venting? See the gas is venting and the purge flame is on? Because the propellants are boiling off, you have to keep topping off the propellants. You have to keep doing it. Just like if you had water on the pot on a stove, right? And you turned it up and you got the water to 100°C, it's going to boil, right? If you just left it there, it'll eventually just boil off and then you'll just get a hot pan. It'll all turn into gas, right? You have to keep topping it off. Same idea here. Same idea. So they keep topping the propellants off so they don't overpressurize the tanks, and they can better thermally condition the propellants. In fact, right when they recycled the count, we saw a purge flame, not a purge flame, we saw a purge line open on the transporter erector, meaning that they're getting the line down to temperature so they can keep topping the tanks off. When launch? About 40 minutes. How often does the world send rockets into space? A couple of times a week at this rate, Subdog. Yeah, rockets are launching all the time, dude. I cover most of them, fellas. I cover most of them. There are some rockets I don't cover, either because it's not streamed. Some rocket launches aren't streamed, or there are other reasons, but I don't want to get into that. Let's just say most American rocket launches we cover. Actually, not most. Anything that's streamed, we'll cover it here. SpaceX, NASA, Relativity, Firefly, ABL, anybody that does a stream, I will cover it here. Have you heard of Japan using the expander bleed cycle on the first stage of the H3? Yeah, Pete, we were talking about that when we watched H3 launch the other day. Sucks about that second stage, dude. How expensive is liquid methane? Not very, Skinny. Natural gas, a lot of natural gas comes out of the ground, dude. Well, the ice that builds up on the outside of the rocket because it's condensing the atmosphere, the vapor and the water vapor in the atmosphere, the ice gives you a pretty good barrier, pretty good thermal barrier. It's not exactly a renewable resource, though. Methane? Of course it is. What are you talking about? You can make methane. Easy. Yeah, no problem, Cosmo. I got you. Just get a cow. What do you mean it's not renewable? Of course it's renewable. Do you ever cover Long March? No, Atlantic, I don't. I don't cover... I think we covered the Long March 5 launch a little while back, but China doesn't really stream much of their launches, so there's nothing to show, so... Yeah, of course, Jazos. Yeah, what are you talking about? Of course methane is reusable. Or not, it's not reusable, it's renewable. I mean, yeah, a byproduct of this rock is going to be carbon. You're going to have carbon emissions because methane has that big carbon atom in it, right? But that carbon atom will combine with unburned oxidizer in the system and make CO2, which goes into the grass and makes grass grow. Cows eat that and make more methane. It's not that simple, but yeah, of course it is. But you guys got to remember, there's like renewable, and then there's the laws of engineering, right? You're always if you want to do something, you want to do work, it's always going to be a diminishing return every single time. Like you're never gonna be 100% renewable like that. The laws, conservation of mass does not work that way. Thermodynamics is annoying. It's really annoying because you can never win. It's like playing Tetris. You could just get better at it. You're never gonna win. Because you want to do work in some way, you're always going to use some energy, and it's never going to be fully renewable in that regard.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Yeah, thermodynamics is a pain in the butt, dude. Yeah, Herculean, maybe, sure. Competitive Tetris is insane. Unless you build a fusion reactor. Fusion is pretty good, but you still have to put in something to get it going. But fusion, yeah, fusion could change. Fusion's way more sustainable. Heck, nuclear is pretty damn sustainable too. But yeah, I mean, maybe. If only water was flammable. I just got in. What launch is this? Harry, this is the Relativity Terran 1 Good Luck Have Fun mission. This is the first I'm covering this here because Relativity is the first company that's going to try to send a majority 3D printed rocket into space. About 85% of that rocket is 3D printed. No, it's not printed out of PLA. It's metal. It's 3D printed metal. And also if this thing works, oh, we got another line purge right there. Interesting. If this thing works, this will be the first liquid methane, liquid oxygen rocket to make orbit, which is actually going to be, it's a pretty damn impressive milestone. What isn't 3D printed on the rocket? Like the nuts and bolts? That's crazy, PY. I can't do it. That would piss me off. Competitive Tetris is a hard enough game to play by yourself. I can't see what that purge is, that the purge gas is coming out of. It's definitely gaseous oxygen, or GOX for short. Just saying GOX is fun. GOX. It's definitely gaseous oxygen. I just don't know where it's coming out of. I can't see it from that camera angle. The nuts and bolts. Yeah, they're not 3D printed. Nuts. Sounds like something from Dr. Seuss. Yeah, gaseous oxygen. Check CTWC. All right, PY, I will. It seems pretty windy for a rocket launch. Corvoda, it's a little bit windy down on the surface there. Yeah, I mean, but lower level, you guys got to remember, like, lower level winds are not going to be that big of a deal. If the upper level winds are okay, I'd be more worried. I'm more worried about the wind up there than down here. If we're even gusting 25 to 30, could be okay, but it is a little bit windy. The whole point of a test flight, dude, and you're right in this regard, the whole point of a test flight here is to get, you want to launch the test flight in the most ideal conditions. So you want clear skies, good visibility, no wind, because on your first test flight, you really want to get a lot of data back from it. You want to learn and understand how the rocket performed and make sure it performed to your expectations, right? And if you have a perturbing force like wind, it's only going to make extrapolating that data that much harder. So, oh, the rocket did this, and this, we weren't expecting it to do that. Is that the rocket just getting blown around at liftoff, right? We don't know. But, I mean, if they're fine with taking that extra risk and they're fine with understanding the telemetry, even with the perturbing force from the wind, they still could send it. It's possible. Long story short, they could take the wind into account. But yeah, ideally, you want perfect conditions for your first rocket launch.
Just joining us, we are just under T-minus 33 minutes. We are progressing well towards our launch time of 1400 Eastern.
It's a smaller
If you missed
rocket.
the delay, the hour push was due to propellant conditioning. We wanted to get more time to continue that operation.
It's aluminum,
and we're
Curtis.
currently doing a great
That's
job.
it right
Everything
there.
is still green and a go for that launch time.
That is great to hear. I am so stoked to keep moving forward.
Stoked.
As we continue to wait, maybe let's take a moment to recognize the technicians that helped us build the rocket that you see on the pad today. We wouldn't be where we are today without
that's a
all
little
of their
bit high,
hard work and
Thomas.
effort to build this rocket. Let's take a look at this video.
Why did they say T-minus? Okay, so T-minus here refers to time, all right? Time minus 32 means you're 32 minutes out from T-minus 0. T-minus 0 is engine ignition and launch. This is what's called a mission elapsed timer, or MET for short. The MET, basically, with rockets, it's all about the timing. You have to get the timing right. You don't get the timing right, it's not going to work correctly. Your first stage has to stop at T plus 2 minutes, right? Now, not this one. I'm just making up numbers. Your second stage has to stop at T plus 8 minutes, or 8 minutes, 32 seconds. You have to get that down to the second timing, or like maybe in a 2 to 3 second window. If you don't get the timing right, your rocket doesn't get into space. The rockets are a rocket launch is a carefully choreographed sequence of events, and those sequence of events have to go pretty damn right to make the mission successful. If you don't get those mission timing events correct, you're not going to space today. Maybe you'll get close, but there's a lot of stuff that needs to go very, 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 very right. Everything, like, you need everything to perform correctly. Like, even if one thing is, like, performing to, like, 95% of its, like, what it's designed to do, that still could be enough to fail. So you got to be careful with that stuff. The mission timeline is super important. So that's why they say T-, because that marks where you are in the choreographed events all the way up until launch, not launched. But you get the idea. Squishin, 57 months. Thanks, buddy. Want to know something? This is probably the most probably failure condition is unzipping itself at max Q. Okay. Urban Venture, thank you for the raid. Mission timeline and such here. Yep. Thanks, Zay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep that mission timeline up. Thank you for linking it. I usually have this up in the background. That's why I'm so obsessive about timing. It's going good, Urban. Thanks for the raid, buddy.
That I've gotten throughout the years, I'm able to bring it here to Relativity. And working with the other engineers and the other technicians, we like to collaborate and bring those ideas together. And it's exciting to know that our input is worthy here, and so it can go far further. So it's pretty exciting.
I think the coolest part of my job is that right now I'm getting to help design the machine shop for our next headquarters. And so that's not just copying the machine shop that we have now, that's thinking 5-10 years into the future and thinking, what are we gonna need and how can we improve what we have now and how can we really spend the time planning this out. And so I have direct control over what that's gonna be like. And I think that's amazing.
That's actually a pretty cool job. Designing the machine that makes the machine. Okay, looks like we're in a segue. Prepare to fast forward. Preparing to fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir. Fast forwarding. Just want to make sure I'm synced with the live stream here. Minimize delay. Wiley. 85% of that rocket is 3D printed, Gorthon. Yeah. Terran still light. They're using wind for extra delta V. Is the wind blowing up? I'm trying, True. Thanks for those kind words. I appreciate it, buddy. Not with that attitude. Okay. It happens all the time, Pete. Yeah, sometimes. So, every launch vehicle, guys, every modern launch vehicle has what's called an auto sequencer on it. The auto sequencer basically is a computer. After when you get right up to the launch, you don't have people controlling this thing remotely. A computer is controlling the sequence of events. That's called a sequencer, or an automatic sequencer, right? So the auto sequencer takes control really, really close to launch. So like a T-1 minute, right? I don't know what Relativity's is. Let me check to see. Terminal countdown is at T-minus 70 seconds. So that's when the auto sequencer starts at 1 minute and 10 seconds. T-minus 1 minute and 10 seconds, or 70 seconds out. So the auto sequencer, right? A rocket can scrub on the pad and it won't launch if the computer sees something with the telemetry that's wrong. If the auto sequencer goes to start the engines and it sees that it gave the computer can see that it gave the command to the engine for the engines to go to full power, right? To 100% throttle, right? And if one of those engines is at 95% throttle, well, guess what? The rocket will just be like, nah, I'm not doing that, and it'll abort the launch. The auto sequencer does that. That happens. It happens a lot. Heck, that happens to SpaceX sometimes. It happens to SpaceX. Happens to NASA. It happened with the H3 launch, the first attempt for the H3 launch the other day. The auto sequencer went to light the engines, and one of the engines didn't get all the way up to power, and it just said, nope, not doing that. I'll launch another day. Why don't you ask me later, Crabsy? Zonkush. Are they going to launch in the wind? They said that the wind conditions are within expected, Xenon, so we'll see. Hey, Keembop. Why is there a wee tower with flames coming out of it? It's a methane purge line, Keembop. When you have fully cryogenic propellants and you're using liquid methane or liquid hydrogen, you have to give it a place to burn. Because you remember, those propellants are boiling, right? And if they boil, they're going to turn to gas. If you don't give gaseous methane or gaseous hydrogen a place to burn, it will find a place to burn. And that place that it finds is probably going to be some place that you don't want. So you got to give it a place to burn off. That's what that purge flame is. It's basically a big Bunsen burner. Yeah, and it's pulling the gaseous methane out of this thing, which is why you only see gaseous oxygen vents on the pad here. The gaseous methane lines go right back down the transporter erector and out to that purge flame. Once again, that's just a big Bunsen burner, but it's purging off the methane. It's burning it off. Yeah, methane and hydrogen are annoying to deal with. Fully cryogenic propellants are really annoying. Fully cryogenic for everybody, that doesn't mean anything to you. It just means the propellants are really, 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 really freaking cold. That's a cool sciencey way of saying it. Oh, Skinny, this is what I do. Yeah, during launches, I get asked the same question probably about 100, 150 times. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. I like talking about it. You know? This live? Yeah, Joe, we're live, dude. What year is it? I know, Blue Flare. Isn't that nuts, dude? How long does it take to 3D print one of these rockets? Well, right now, 7, it takes a good while, but Relativity is looking to take the manufacturing process down from months to weeks. And that is a huge reduction in production time. You know, and if you can mass produce these things, if you reduce the production time from like a couple of months to a couple of weeks, you could mass produce rockets. And if you can mass produce the rocket, your rocket can be cheaper than everybody else's, which is really, it's a big deal, dudes. That's a big deal. Relativity is hopefully destined for great things. Hey, Boxy. Yeah, a little windy, but they said conditions are green, so we're at T-minus, clock stopped at T-minus 24. They're in a hold. Apologize. What is the purpose of this mission? No, don't apologize, Sug Dog. It's a test flight.
Placed another hold on the T clock at T-minus 24 minutes. We do need additional time for propellant conditioning. We're going to stand by for additional updates, and I'll send that to you as soon as I have them.
They're having trouble keeping the propellants cold. They're having trouble keeping the prop cold. That's a hard thing to do, especially if it's your first launch. So, propellant conditioning is a nice way of saying that the propellants are warming up too quickly. You don't want them to warm up. If they warm up, they turn to gas. Gas doesn't work well in a liquid fuel rocket engine. The only thing that liquid fuel rocket engines really want is liquid. Liquid fuel, liquid oxidizer. You put gas into the rocket engine, you put gas in there, the rocket engine will basically do the equivalent of like rod knocking in a car. You can create what's called a hard start condition. This kills the rocket engine. Yeah, those propellants need to be at the right temperature, and they need to feed at the right temperature into the rocket engines. If that doesn't happen, you explodes. So I just send it. You don't want to do that with a rocket. You send it, it's gonna make an explosion. So what I like to say, guys, for the people that don't know me, is that so rockets are basically a big explosion factory, but they take an explosion and they make it go in one direction, out the bottom. The explosion, you ideally want the explosion to go down, away from the vehicle. If a rocket is exploding, you're doing it right. But if it has to explode in one direction. If it's exploding in multiple directions, you did it wrong. Yep, nope, try again. You want the explosion to come out the bottom and only the bottom. If the explosion's coming out the side, you got a problem. Yeah, yep. It's not supposed to do that, I don't think. Why don't they just make the rocket orange? I don't know. Orange rocket, good. Perhaps they should have used foam instead of paint. Revert to VAB. Well, guys, this isn't Kerbal Space Program, all right? It's Human Space Program. HSP has no revert button. There's no revert button. There's no revert to VAB. No quick save, no quick load, okay? They are playing with MechJeb, though. Like, but they had to code the MechJeb themselves, so, you know, trade-offs. Might have something to do with the wind. I think they would say if it had something to do with the wind, Aqualex. They're having trouble. You're talking about propellant conditioning? Maybe. Yeah, the wind blowing against it might be heating up the propellants, believe it or not. And I know what people are going to say, how the frick is the wind heating up the propellants? Well, if you think about the temperature inside of the tank and the temperature in Florida, temperature in Florida is a little bit warmer than what's inside of the tank. It actually could be exchanging the heat and keeping the propellants, heat up the propellants. It's possible. Sure. I'm sure that's something they're monitoring. Yeah, and I'm sure they're taking that into account because you'd be kind of nuts to not do that. Great content, thanks. No problem, Fozo. I got you. Pretty sure Artemis 1 reverted to VAB. It didn't, well, yeah, okay, that's fair. Revert to VAB just takes months. What do we know about the insulation on the tanks? As far as I can tell, Shy, they're just painted. Are the physics better to 3D print the rocket in space? We have yet to figure that one out, Seven, but I would say if Relativity's banking on it, then yeah, probably. Okay, so they stopped the clock at T-minus 24 here, and they said it's propellant conditioning. You can't get the propellants to stay cool, which is interesting. Proton tried to fly back to the VAB once. Yep, that didn't work. Oh, another purge line opening. When they're opening the purge line like this, guys, they're thermally conditioning the lines. Thermally conditioning the lines basically means that they're trying to top off, or they're trying to get the feed line in the transporter erector, because there's fuel lines that go up to the second stage on this. You see how it just puffed out a big vent? What's going on there is they're trying to keep that line down to the right temperature. Liquid oxygen and liquid methane really like to boil. They really like to boil if you try to keep them existing as a liquid fuel and an liquid oxidizer down here. They really like to boil. And when you flow that cold boiling propellant through a warmer pipe, it's going to turn to gas. That happens. It's physics, man. You can't really do much about it except insulate the frick out of the line and hope it's, well, not hope. You don't hope for anything in this. You try to maximize your odds of success, right? But the fact that they're opening up the GOX vent on the pad right there tells me that they're having trouble keeping the liquid oxygen cold. Now, I'm not 100% sure that they're using like super chilled liquid oxygen like SpaceX is, but it definitely kind of seems like it. Gotta love your patience. Yeah, patient guy, man. Do they weave in heat-resistant materials along the 3D printing cycle? Broadsworth, if I had to guess, there's probably some kind of like zinc or nickel or something in the weld bead that they use to print these things. It could be Inco. It looks like yeah. The answer to that is yes, because that thing is just painted. We saw pictures of them making it. It's just painted. So that means that they have a thermal insulator of some type inside of the rocket. How big is the printer that prints the rockets? It's pretty big, dude. Was thinking they'd play this on KSP2 hard mode. Dude, any mode on KSP2 is hard mode right now. Stoked for this. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. It's pretty sunny, not too cloudy. You might get a good view. Yeah, Sif. Heck yeah. Bouncy, what was your question? Let me scroll. Did they have a wet dress rehearsal? Yes. Where's this launch out of? Ramsey, it's Launch Complex 16 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Can you show more of that printer while we wait? Yeah, sure. Relativity spacer. Let's just do that. Actually, Journey to Launch will show it pretty well. Here, check it out. So, what they have here, from the most part, for what I can tell, is some type of MiG That's a MIG welder. But it's a MIG welder on basically, it's a MIG welder combined with a 5-axis mill. See? And it's just welding bead. See? They're just laying welding bead on top of each other. Now I say that like, oh, it's no big deal. No, that's not easy to do, to lay bead on bead like that. Ask any industrial welder. You really have to make sure the conditions are right to lay bead on bead like that. But yeah, see, if you look, the entire tank is just made out of weld bead, which is actually really freaking strong. The weld bead is super strong. So yeah, interesting, right? Yeah, like, you don't need to worry about strength if you make it all out of weld. It's pretty damn strong. Nice, Forge. I don't know if they're double walled, dudes. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think they are from what I've seen. That's right. Yeah, Aqualex, exactly. Weather is not good. Have you seen the burb struggling to fly forward? Yeah, I mean, we can sit here and say that the weather is not good all you want, Fran. If they say the weather's good, well, it's their rocket. They understand the conditions for it better than we do. Like, everyone said, oh, the weather's no good. The weather's no good. They said the weather conditions were green. And if they say it's green, well, like I said, they're a rocket, man. Like, I'm pretty sure they would know. I mean, either that or they're making a catastrophic mistake, which I don't think they would want to do with investors watching. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure they would take that into account. Something like that, Jax. They fibbing. They might be, Holmes. Dude, we've seen rockets in the past where they're like, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. And then it wasn't fine after that. So, I mean, that's definitely been a thing. Yeah, see, that's how they print these things. See, they have a 3D printing table, and the 3D printing table just spins, and yeah, pretty crazy, right? It's all weld bead. That's strange, man. That is a weird way to do that, but hey, if it works, man, I mean, this thing belted out the tank in a couple of days, which is pretty nuts. Does 3D printing reduce the weight of the rocket? It might, yeah, maybe. It's not, no, it's not PLA. It's not even ABS, guys. The H3 power slide was on purpose, Jax. Yep. Yeah, Aqualex for sure. Oh, hold on. They cut the sound for a second. Let's go back over here. Okay, see how the methane flame is a little bit bigger now? They're cycling the methane systems. They're trying to get the methane down to the right temperature. This thing behind me says countdown is holding for propellant conditioning. Yeah, that means they're having trouble getting the propellants at the right temperature. Yeah, Zonku, stacking welding bead on welding bead is tough, man. That's really hard to do. You get, unless the surface is like super prepped, and this is kind of the case with any welder, you're gonna get terrible adhesion. I also noticed that they are, in fact, they're back purging the weld. I saw a Miller back purge pipe in some of their manufacturing videos, so they are back purging that weld, which is interesting. Back purging is something that you do on the opposite side of whatever you're trying to weld, because with a weld you want to get good pen through the metal that you're welding. You want to get the weld to go all the way through almost, right? And sometimes on the tail, oh, there's another Gox vent. Sometimes on the back side of the weld you want to hit it with inert gas so the weld doesn't get contaminated. The big thing with MIG welding and TIG welding is making sure that you shield the weld, the actual arc that melts the flux, right, and makes that metal bead. It has to be surrounded by a cool column of gas, inert gas, right? If it's not surrounded by a cool column of inert gas, you can get the arc, right? The arc will ionize reactive gases around it, like oxygen, and the weld can rust from the inside out. That's not good. You don't want that.
We just coordinated for a new T0 time with the range. Our new T0 time is now 14:40 Eastern. That is 2:40 p.m. Eastern. We're going to allow a little bit more time for propellant conditioning. As some of you may know, this is not at all unusual for a first launch. This is perfectly expected since we want...
Houston, we have a problem. Houston, we've had a problem here.
For a first launch, this is perfectly expected since we want all systems to be as perfect as possible before...
Okay, prepare to fast forward. Preparing to fast forward. Fast forwarding, sir. Fast forwarding. Okay, we're back up to live. You know what? I'm not going to ask questions. Whatever. So, there's a new T0 about an hour out. They've resumed the count at 51. It seems like they're really having trouble getting those getting the propellants to the right temperature. That could be because of the wind. There's a bunch of things there's a bunch of reasons why the propellant wouldn't cooperate. What's the ideal temperature they need the propellants at? Canadian, I don't know the temperature of liquid methane, like where it needs to be offhand. And even if I did, they might be super chilling the methane. I don't know. I haven't heard much about that on the end of this, to be honest with you. If you guys want to look up the, liquefaction point for methane, that's probably around where they need it to be. They're on a mission from GAD. Funky Punk, 18 months. Thanks, buddy. It's entirely possible that, Aqualex said it already, but it's entirely possible that the wind is heating up their propellants. Yeah, that could be a thing. Seen that 77 times? Yeah. Yeah, me too, man. It's one of my favorite movies. Jadam, they've recycled the count because they're having trouble keeping the liquid oxygen and liquid methane at nominal conditions for what they want to do. The window is 3 hours, guys, so we got a little bit of time. That's right, Hellfish. Yep. If the wind's blowing hard enough, yeah. Even if, wind is generally kind of cold, but it's blowing around super hot air comparatively to what's inside of the rocket, so that can actually heat up the propellants. That's definitely a thing. That absolutely happens. 1 to 4, Riv. Yep. Is our propellant conditioning resets common? It happens. On test flights, Alice? Yeah, sure. What's the payload? There's no payload on board. This is a developmental flight, so first flight, just a test flight. They don't even have a fairing up top, guys. It's just a nose cone. If it's so difficult to keep the fuel at the correct temperature while it's on the pad, how does it stay at the correct temperature once in flight? Tank ullage is the answer to that question. So those Aeon engines that are at the bottom of this thing use autogenous pressurization. So basically they keep the tanks at a higher pressure during flight to mitigate boil off. The propellants will basically get sucked into the rocket engines in less than on the first stage it's only 2 minutes, right? So if they keep the tanks pressurized at a higher pressure, the boiling point will it'll minimize boiling on the propellants. Yeah, they have a 3D printed, the first thing they ever 3D printed up there. Yep. They're having trouble keeping the propellants cold, Drummer. Yeah, no problem, DC. Gotcha, man. If it's anything like CO2, the tank is not cold enough. If the tank is not cold enough, it can't fill up all the way. Yeah, Ted's kind of like that. What part is printed? Wendigo, about 85% of this rocket is printed. While they're on commercial here, not on commercial, you know what I'm trying to say. While they're just kind of a dead spot here, I'll show you some of their videos. Ooh, Cornbread, careful with the link, my dude. Good luck, have fun, hype, Joe. There you go. So check this out. It basically is a modified 5-axis mill, right? And it prints out the part. See, that was the nose cone that's on this rocket. See that right there? Look at that. It's just weld beads stacked on top of each other. And I say that like, oh, that's an easy thing to do. That is not an easy thing to do. Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. HVLP gun right there. Yeah, pretty crazy, right? And about 85% of this thing is 3D printed. My guess is that the only things that aren't 3D printed is the wires, the nuts, and the bolts, and some parts of the motor. Yeah, see that? Pretty cool, right? Yeah, the avionics probably isn't 3D printed in RF, yeah, stuff like that. I don't think the batteries are 3D printed either. I think most of the structure and the engines are printed, like the mechanical parts of the rocket. How do these Aeon engines perform compared to other engines we're more accustomed to seeing? We'll find out in a second, huzzah. They're, If I'm understanding that correctly, and I don't want to guess, I think each one of them produces about 100 kilonewtons of thrust. I think. So they're a pretty powerful little engine for what it is. I mean, considering the engine's like this big, 100 kilonewtons out of something that small is actually pretty good. Is the live stream behind? Yeah, here we'll fast forward. How reusable is this rocket? This one is not reusable, 7. They're going expendable on the first flight. But Terran, hopefully what they learned from Terran 1 will scale into another rocket called Terran R, which Relativity has plans for full reuse. Reusable first and second stage. Terran R looks, from the renders that we've seen, it looks like a Falcon 9 sized starship. That's what it looks like. Yeah, Joe. I agree. Why is the tower shooting fire? Salto, that's the methane purge line. You don't want to... You have to give gaseous methane because the propellants in there liquid methane and liquid oxygen. Now, the liquid oxygen, I don't think anybody's going to get mad at you for venting that into the atmosphere, right? But if you vent gaseous methane into the atmosphere, yeah, that's kind of frowned upon from an environmental standpoint. But also, on a more like kind of technical thing, gaseous methane, if you don't give it a place to... If you don't give that thing a place to turn to fire, it'll find a place to turn to fire without asking you. And most likely, that place that it finds is going to be a place that you don't want. Think Hindenburg. Yeah. Methane is mostly... Well, I'm about to say that methane is mostly hydrogen, but it's a good enough part of it is hydrogen. So, yeah, you don't want the thing to Hindenburg. That would be bad. Yeah. So you got to give it a place. You got to give it a place to burn off. Because if you don't, it'll find a place. And that place is not going to be where you want. That's right, Supercraft. Yep. So is the rocket already full of propellant? Yeah. Eric, yeah. The ice that's accumulating on the side of the booster indicates that it is full. They're just having trouble getting the propellants to the right temperature. Super Freak! 15-month resub. Thank you very much. That's right, Teague. Yeah, if you live near an oil refinery, they have stuff that does the same thing to keep the gas from building up. Because if it builds up, it'll find a source of ignition. And that source of ignition is going to be not where you want. You want the ignition to happen down here. Not over here or here so much, but right here. They're having trouble keeping the propellants cold, Diddlywink? Yep. 85% 3D printed, Tomas, yep. Landfills have methane lines as well, Killer Fun, that's right, yep. What software did they use to 3D print the rocket? I'm not sure, 7. It might be proprietary. My guess is that it's kind of proprietary because I don't think people manufacture like they manufacture. Joe, I read a little bit about the Orion heat shield. The Orion heat shield burned in a way that they didn't expect, which is not ideal, but it's just because it's a way that they didn't understand doesn't mean that it would compromise a potential mission in the future. It just, they were a little bit off with their analytical model, which is why they did a test flight. Not ideal when you do that with SLS's way of testing. You don't want the heat shield to burn in a way that you don't understand, but it wouldn't have compromised the mission from what I heard from NASA. If successful, is this a huge savings for manufacturing? It's not just one mission, Alpha, that's going to make a difference. If Relativity proves out their model, they'll be able to launch more than everybody else because they can literally make their rockets faster. If they can make the rockets faster, then yeah, you can launch the rocket at a lower price point because economy of scale, right? It's playing Factorio, but with rockets. They've added time steam, yep. They received venture capital funding, not for their rocket, but for the first thing they ever built, the 3D printer. There you go. Yep, that's a good point, Rocket Guy, yep. Probably mentioned this before, but I interned at Relativity last year on prop components, so let me know any questions I can am allowed to answer. All right, Rocky, right on. Cool. Yeah, Rocky, you told me that. That's cool, dude. So they're trying to Model T rockets. A lot of people are trying to do that. Elon's trying to do the same thing, Winterside. Yeah, they're trying to do that same thing with Starship. Yep. But see, here's the thing. Here's the dirty little secret, guys. You don't need a fully reusable rocket to lower the cost of said rocket. If you can manufacture your expendable rocket faster than everybody else, it doesn't matter. Interesting point. Yeah, Neil Burns. Yeah, I kind of have that effect on people, dude. Rockets are dope, man. It's freaking cool. This is cool, man. I like this stuff. I can get that, dude. I can't get enough of it. I've been doing this for a decade. I'm still hangry. You know what I mean? Still hangry to learn. Alpha with the bits. Thank you. Appreciate that. But yeah, right on, man. I'm glad I could make your day better, dude. Learning stuff is cool, right? If you want to go on a rocket kick, do it, but be careful. Rockets are a freaking rabbit hole. I call it the space bug, all right? If you get bit by the space bug, you're kind of screwed. Because, like, okay, we're on Twitch, right? We're on Twitch here. So I'd assume that a lot of people here play video games, right? You know when you're really into a game? Hey, Ono with the 20 subs, and Fat Hootie with a Prime sub. Thank you very much. You know when you're like super into video games, right? And you play the trash out of a video game and you want to learn everything about it. And then you learn everything about it, you get really good at it, and you're just like, all right. With rockets, you're playing a video game that has infinite difficulty. So if you get bit by the space bug and you go down that freaking rabbit hole is a bottomless pit of information. It's just like, yep. Okay, you're trying to beat a game that is literally unbeatable. Nobody knows everything about rockets. You know what I mean? It's awesome, though. It's fun, dude. You learn a lot. It's good stuff, dude. Imagine being a gamer on Twitch. Yeah, it'll never end, dude. I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm nowhere close to even, like, I wouldn't try to go and build one of these, dude. No way. You know? Oh,
if
hang
you're
on.
just joining us, we are now back at T-minus 38 minutes. We did set back the clock.
That's cool, Neil.
With a range for a new T0 time of 14:40 Eastern. That is 2:40 p.m. Eastern. We did add this time to allow us to continue our propellant conditioning. We'll continue to provide you updates as we get them.
Okay. This one isn't reusable, Dirty, no. Neil, that's cool. Your dad worked on the Ariane rocket circuits. Well, using Ariane 4 components on Ariane 5 did not end very well. Oops. But Ariane 5's turned into a really, really good rocket. Hey, oh no, thanks for the 20 subs. Alpha, thank you for the bits. I do appreciate it. Fat Hootie, thank you for the sub, too. You guys are too good to me. Thank you very much. I'm not sure that is his fault. And Ariane 5 is human rated, but you know. I'm not saying nothing, Thomas. I ain't saying nothing, all right? I'm not saying nothing, dude. When was the last launch from LC-16? The last launch from LC-16, Squishin, was 34 years ago. 1988. From, I think it's 1972 to 1988, the Air Force used LC-16 to test perishing missiles, which is, it's a missile. I forget what perishing is. I think perishing is an intercept, or no, it could be an IRBM. I forget. I don't know that part of rocketry. I'm not too good with. Pershing? Oh, God, you said it in a way that I don't like, but I still understood exactly what you're talking about. Funny how that works. Yeah, perishing missiles. Yeah, I'm not changing. I'm not conforming to you, chat. Not doing that. So they used it for missile testing. And then before that, from 1966 to the early 70s, it was used for testing the service module for the Apollo capsule. This is where they qualified the service module. They used this pad for it. And then before that, it was used for the Gemini program by NASA for Titan missiles. I'm convinced EJ's an AI with the amount of knowledge that comes out. Oh, geez. Maybe. Will this affect how ICBMs are manufactured? Possibly. Parakeet missiles. I'm calling them parakeet missiles from now on. Could you build the engine within the body to save printing time? Maybe if it was a solid rocket booster, JW, sure. But with the liquid fuel booster, probably not. I don't think they'd go one print. Anybody that knows 3D printing knows that if you try to do one print for the whole thing, stuff gets stuck together. Is this Relativity Space Company? Yeah, Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah. Yeah, but we still try to do it in one print the first time. Oh, Norath, yeah. You 3D print. It's really easy to spot us, huh? Since this thing has no payload, suppose it could SSTO? There's a second stage up there, Hellfish, and then just a nose cone on top of the second stage. I don't think it could SSTO. No. Did anyone try to print Relativity rockets before Relativity? Well, different types of 3D print. In the aerospace industry, guys, 3D printing has existed for a long time, believe it or not, since the 80s. They're just using stereolithography to 3D print, which is coincidentally why 3D printing files have a .stl extension. Stereolithography has existed in the aerospace manufacturing industry for a long time. It could be, you could do 3D printing, like cast 3D printing. That's existed for a real long time. Cast 3D printing has been a thing, and then laser sintered aluminum has been a thing for a little while. Basically, it uses a laser to take aluminum powder and fry it into a shape, basically. There have been other 3D printing or additive manufacturing methods that have been pioneered over the last 30 years. But what Relativity is doing is kind of new. It's a different way of doing 3D printing. They're basically just welding weld bead into a 3D rocket shape, which is actually pretty cool. That's a pretty interesting way to manufacture this stuff. No one's ever done full structure tanks. Yeah, Rocket Guy, that's a good way to do it. Yep. What's the steam coming out of the rocket? It's not steam, Dysimus, it's gaseous oxygen. Steam would be gaseous H2O. It's gaseous oxygen that's coming out. The reason why is the oxidizer inside of there is boiling. They're using liquid oxygen. But for oxygen to exist as a liquid, it's cryogenic. So that's a cool sciencey way of saying it needs to be really friggin' cold. And if something's really freaking cold and you take it and you put it outside in Florida where it's not cold, well, relatively, comparatively to the propellants, I mean, for us, but comparatively for the propellants, it's actually a huge temperature change. So the propellant likes to boil. It boils inside of it because they have to store it at high pressure because it doesn't want to exist as a liquid. But because it boils, they have to vent the tanks. If you don't vent the tanks when the cryogenic propellant is inside of the tanks, the tank can overpressurize and pff, you don't want that. I don't think anybody wants that. I'm sure there's some guy in the back there that's like, I want to see explosions. Yeah, no, shut up. That's not cool. It's bad juju. No bad. Yeah, I'm talking to you in the back. I see you. I see you back there. Don't do that. You guys are cool. You guys are cool. Up in the front. You guys are all good. We want controlled explosions, not uncontrolled explosions. That's right. People in the back are like, oh! How does the 3D printed rocket handle radiation? 7? I don't know. I'd assume if they're putting it on the pad and they're going to send it, I'd assume it'd be okay, but I think they have yet to find out, dude. I feel singled out. Sorry, D. My bad. My bad. As a guy in the back, I do want to see explosions, but I don't want to see this one pop. Yeah, guys, I've said this already, but just in case you don't know me. A really good way to tell the rocket is going correctly is if explosions happen, but the explosions have to come out of the bottom. If the explosions are coming out from down there, that's good. All a rocket is a big explosion factory. It takes an explosion and just makes it go in one direction. Not too complicated, right? If the explosion is coming out of, like, this part, or that part, or like this part, then you got problems. If you're exploding in multiple directions, that's no good. You don't want that. You want the explosion to come out of the bottom and go in one direction. So we get to see explosions either way. We just want to see controlled explosions. I wonder what the boil-off rate is for liquid oxygen. Don't know off the top of my head. Tell chat how to read mission control. RJ, yeah. There's always a telltale sign if something is going wrong. If they show pictures of people in mission control and they're doing the not like this. Seriously. If something, that's a really easy way to see if something's gone wrong with the rocket. If you look at mission control and people are going not like this, that's, or if they're doing that or this or that, something has gone wrong. Yeah, hands on face like that is something is bad. Please tell me I'm not the only one that remembers the rocket launch from Austin Powers. Looks like a giant Johnson. Yes, sir. Get on the horn to British intelligence. Let them know about this. Befuddled Bear having some trouble keeping the propellants cold. Looks like a big pecker. Ooh, where? Wait, that's not a woodpecker. Looks like someone's privates. Personally, it'd be funny to see a replay of that one launch where the chute popped out first. Yeah, the first test of the Mercury Redstone system. Yeah. They went to launch and it shorted out and popped the parachute on the pad. Check your staging. Complete with 2 balls. Not like this or Peepo Leave or loggers. It's pretty funny, Zach. Yep. And they're definitely learning something from this, Roar, that's for sure. The Austin Powers rocket looked a lot like Blue Origin. No, it didn't, Twisted. The Blue Origin rocket doesn't have 2 balls at the bottom of the shaft. There's another Gox vent. Another Gox vent indicating that they're still thermally conditioning those propellants. What's a family ship? We're talking about the rockets. Fuel is stored in the balls on a rocket, obviously. Jeez. Get your mind out of the flame trench, chat. Jeez. Yeah, the flame trench, the bottom, the gutter. Get your mind out of the flame trench. What's wrong with you? Ah, yes. The smooth beats here to all rocket cameras all the time. You're listening to 107.3 FM. All easy listening all the time. Oops, some ice came off. Yowza! Okay. So when ice comes off like that, that indicates a higher pressure inside of the tank because the tank's expanding. Yep. They may have upped the pressure in the tank there. again, you're listening to 107.3 FM here on your radio dial. Currently, easy listening all the time here. And in the background, enjoy some pleasurable views of rockets getting ready to launch on pads. I am your host, DJ_SA on 107.3 FM. All easy listening all the time. This is Earth Radio, and here's human music. No, K1540 AM is a different station, guys. Jeez. "24/7 that voice for the stream, please." No, I'm good, man. Just keep doing that. No, I'm alright. EJ, with future Mars colony missions, wouldn't it be a bit safer to try it on the moon first? Well, that's what the Artemis program is all about, Alpha. The Artemis program is learning to live on the moon. Because actually living on the moon is harder than living on Mars. If you can get a sustainable colony on the moon, you can absolutely have a sustainable colony on Mars. Sure. Yeah. Should we practice on the moon first? Yes, absolutely. And we are. Ah, human music. I like it. This is Earth Radio. When EJ starts ASMR, I'm out. Don, I'll never do that. Only as a joke, man. If I start doing that all the time, this stream has been compromised. The stream has been compromised. Abandon ship! It's like camping in your backyard before camping in the middle of nowhere. Yep, Gox vent. Yeah, Ebrick, right? You want a piece of me, boy? Jacked up, good to go. Rock and roll. Here. Battle cruiser operational. Hailing frequencies open. Good day, Commander. Assade Templari. Yep, another puff from the Gox vent. Are they venting the LOX? They're venting gaseous oxygen, Victory. Yeah, which means they're whenever you see a big vent like that, that means they're putting more fuel or more oxidizer into the rocket. Orders, sir! Absolutely! Move it! Ready to roll out! My life for ire. Is that what this is gonna devolve into while we're waiting? We got... Oh, held at 23. Nope. Kept going. Why is that count going down so quickly? Am I having a stronk?
If you're just
Call the
joining us, we are
Bondulans.
currently at T-23 minutes. If you recall, we did set the T-clock back a little bit in order to allow for propellant conditioning. You might also be able to see that the clouds are coming in. Our team is keeping a close eye on the weather right now just because we want the maximum visibility that we can get for this historic first launch. We'll keep you updated along the way.
Thank you. Nod and smile. Up. Any hands on face? Oh, we got one guy. One guy. Just... See, this, actually, believe it or not, if you want to get into that even more, this is okay. This right here is okay. That's... why is it doing that? This is... I haven't lost the mission yet, but the rocket is doing something that I don't want. Oh, what's it doing now?
We're going to stand by for a situational briefing from the launch director, Clay Walker, in Mission Control. Let's listen in for the next few minutes.
Yes, let's. The go, no go polls are scheduled to begin at T-minus 16 minutes, so we're still a little ways out. That isn't a panic gesture. Yeah, Rocket Guy, that's... Alright, that seems to be working. Date. 7, I didn't see what your last question was, buddy. Is it possible to scrap the material and reprint the rocket? Sure. Aluminum is super recyclable. Absolutely. 85% 3D printed. Rain, it's the first rocket that has the primary structure of the rocket, so the fuel tank's 3D printed. No one's ever done that before. You're calling a scrub? Oh, is your name Clay Salyut? Oh, no, it's not? Oh, alright, cool. I'm just messing with it. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe. They got plenty of time still left in the window. You don't know. I saw someone ask why the moon is harder for habitation than Mars. Oh. Yeah. So why would the moon be harder to habitate? So Mars actually has a little bit of an atmosphere. It's not that much. You definitely can't breathe in it, but it has... Basically, it's easier to live off the land on Mars. Think about it like trying to be sustainable in the desert as opposed to trying to be sustainable like in the rainforest, for instance, right? The moon's climate is a lot more hostile than Mars is. Don't get me wrong, they're still both pretty bad, but they're definitely not as bad as Venus. Yeah. Venus, it rains sulfuric acid. You don't want that, and the pressure at the surface is like 5 times Earth. It's at 5 bar pressure, so you don't want that either. Let's go to Mars. So, and the moon. Yeah, that'd probably be better. Yeah, you don't want that. Venus cloud base. Yeah, if we want to get, we want to call up Lando Calrissian and get, to ban a gas refinery that's floating up in the upper atmosphere of Venus, then we're talking. Not on the surface. You don't want to go down there. Livability is only one piece, though. Can't ignore the others. Yeah? Sure. Caves on Mars to live in? That would be good on the moon or on Mars, Small, but yeah, you definitely don't want to be on the surface on either one of those. The Go No Go Poll Aqualex is scheduled at T-minus 16, so we got about 3 minutes until we hear something. If it goes past 3 minutes, then I'm going to be a little... Do you have any info on the moon mission? Go to NASA's website and go to Artemis, the Artemis program. Blux, the wind's not going to get better in the window. There's a small cyclone sending stuff from the North Atlantic. Once again, yeah, Blogus...
I'm hearing now that we're expecting the go-no-go polls to occur in approximately 3 minutes.
I just said that.
While we wait, let's talk about the nose cone that we have today.
If they don't say the weather conditions are bad, the weather conditions ain't bad.
We do have a memento inside of our nose cone. We have included our first ever 3D printed piece from our Stargate printer. And of course, it was a failed print since no one had ever done it before. As you see on your screen, that is our nose cone memento. That piece is 6.5 inches in diameter and weighs about 3 pounds. It is our first completed circular test article for which we used our first generation aluminum alloy. Since then, we've added a machined centerpiece with GLHF, good luck, have fun, and our mitosis logo to commemorate this maiden launch.
From our very first failed print 7 years ago, Relativity's team relentlessly overcame thousands of challenges against all odds to get to today, our first 3D printed rocket launch. Like the first print, Terran 1 is the first step of many towards making humanity a multi-planetary species. As a reminder, our primary objective for today is to gather as much data as possible to help develop our future vehicles, including Terran R, our larger medium to heavy lift reusable launch vehicle. In just a few minutes, the launch director is going to poll the teams for launch, so let's listen in.
Still go, no go. Yeah, see what I mean? These, oftentimes first test flights are going to be carrying a lot of developmental equipment, DFI sensors on it, developmental flight instrumentation sensors. That is used to make sure that you can understand as much as humanly possible about this test flight in terms of telemetry. And that's why it's kind of unlikely to see onboards, because all that telemetry downlink in real time is going to be hogging up all the bandwidth. Yeah, that's crazy. Creeper, yeah. Mass do be like that. Maybe drummer. I think we're good. Relativity uses a neural net, Hellfish. They use a neural net that has a baseline with their analytical data. Yeah. And they take the flight data and check it against the analytical data. So the analytical data is all the math that they did to make sure that this works correctly. And if the math checks out, that means the rocket launched into space and got there. They'll be checking the real-time telemetry against the analytical data. And if you check it against the analytical model, they're using neural nets and software-driven design to do that. Now, don't get me wrong, other people do that as well. But they're also doing it with the manufacturing process as well, which is actually pretty hardcore. That's really crazy stuff, dude. Yeah, so how do they do it? They're using AI to do it, which is actually super freaking smart. It's a really good way to do it. The AI will be able to comb through that data pretty fast. I mean, we're talking like petabytes of data here. There's a lot of data that gets off that gets downlinked off the rocket during the flight. Like petabytes in like a matter of like 8 minutes. It's an 8-minute ride to orbit usually. It's an insane amount of data gets downlinked in that time. That's why sometimes we don't have onboards, especially on first test flights, because all that data being downlinked hogs up all the bandwidth. We stopped at 1509. Oh.
Yeah, go. FTS.
FTS go.
There we go.
FTS go. RF.
RF go.
RF go. GNC.
GNC go.
GNC go. Flight software.
Flight software go.
Flight software go. Prop 1.
Prop 1 go.
Prop 1 go. Prop 2.
Prop 2 go.
Prop 2 go. Fluids 1.
Fluids 1 go.
Fluids 1 go. Fluids 2.
Chat.
Fluids 2 go.
Fluids 2 go. Loads.
Loads go.
Loads go. Rock.
Range
Ranges go.
Range operations
OSM.
coordinator.
OSMs go.
OSMs go. RC. RC go.
Range
Vehicle.
coordinator.
Vehicles go.
Vehicles go. CE.
CEs go.
C's go. LC.
LC go.
All parties have reported go for launch countdown.
Man, how about that HD?
Once the T-clock begins, anyone can call for a hold at any time. If a hold is called prior to T-minus 70 seconds, the T-clock will continue to roll until T-minus 70 seconds, at which point a hold will be automatically initiated. A hold is not possible after T-minus 70 seconds, and any hold call after that time will result in a terminal count abort.
That's when the
Should a hold or
starts.
manual abort be necessary, the person calling for a hold or abort should state clearly on comms, hold, 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 or abort, abort, abort. In the event that the OSM requires a hold, OSM will initiate the hold command on the OSM GUI and notify LD and the RC on the primary net.
Launch director and range coordinator. Range coordinator is the tower, like ATC. Think like ATC.
on Bravo. Can
And
we
the
open
launch
stage
director
1
is-
fuel bleeds, please?
Guy that directs the launch.
Copy. Opening
EJs
stage 1
go.
fuel bleeds.
Okay. They're opening up the fuel-
GCVC, please limit comms channels to Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and countdown unless directed by the LC or LD.
Support room, this is vehicle on LV.
Oh, hey, no, bring the countdown loop back, please. Come on now.
You just heard our launch director complete the go, no-go polling with our mission control team. All systems, as you heard, are currently healthy, so as of now, we're able to proceed with our scheduled launch time in about 12 minutes.
Throughout today's live stream, you've been hearing callouts for mission control. Let's take a moment to introduce you to our mission control team.
So
Clay Walker, launch director.
it's a 200
John
by 200
Wiswall,
kilometer
launch
orbit.
conductor. James Harris, chief engineer. Elijah Escobedo and Zoe Dickert on vehicle controls. Brian Batters, ground control. Bill Stack, ground. Joy Mosdell, range control. There are a few notable members of leadership supporting today's launch who are also here at Launch Control. This includes our co-founder and CEO, Tim Ellis, our Chief
Timmy.
Operating Officer who leads product execution,
No
Zach
drama.
Dunn,
Come on, Glenn.
Vice President of Test and Launch, Don Katterbeck, and Director of Cape Operations, Pat Svatek. These
What's up there,
are
S?
among many, many others who are making today's launch happen.
They all play StarCraft. That guy is playing StarCraft. He thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
For those of you that are just tuning in, you can see Terran 1 on the pad. This rocket is 85% 3D printed by mass. It is 110 feet tall and 7.5 feet in diameter. Stage 1 has 9 Aeon 1 engines, and our second stage has an Aeon vacuum engine. These engines are also 3D
Good
printed
game,
using
Hunters.
powder bed
Good
fusion.
reference.
We're going to go ahead and take a moment to pause and stay tuned as we wait on the launch countdown.
We're going to pause. Wait, why are we going to pause? I'm just kidding. All right. That was bad. I know. Hey, I got a sensible chuckle. Maybe. No? All right. All right, fine. What the hell am I looking at? When does this happen in the launch? What did you do? I turned off the entire movie. Put it back on. Put the movie back on. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're back. And we have the countdown clock. Schlotkin, go back to the golf course and work on your putts. All right, guys.
10 minutes. Countdown sequence has started.
Okay, so, fellas, what I'm going to do here is I hate ads, so I'm going to run an ad. Yep. Yeah, I know. That sounds weird, right? I don't want people getting pre-roll ads or any type of ads during the launch. There's nothing worse than popping into a stream, seeing the rocket go, and then popping in and getting an ad for your useless product. So we don't want that. So I'm going to run pre-roll ads for the people that are unsubbed right now. I know, ads are annoying. I can't stand it, but it's better getting them now than during the launch. So here, enjoy your Applebee's ad or something. Hopefully it's targeted. Anyway, everybody else, hi. Yeah, we will pause while the ad is playing. You know, one of these days I'm going to get a call from Applebee's. And
We'll be looking
like,
for a
"Excuse
call
me,
out in the next
stop doing
30
that."
seconds that stage 1 is transitioning to helium.
Dave and Buster's ad. Word. All right. Cool. All right, looks like the clouds are opening up here. That's good. Destiny ad. O'Reilly's are not. Nice. KSP2 ad. 7 wins. 7 wins. Barack, 47-month resub. What ads? Yeah. Why is the rocket white? Better thermals, orbital exploit. If the thing is white, it's going to reflect more heat. Yeah, it would be nice. I wouldn't lick the rocket right now. Yeah, that would be bad. What's that, Alpha? They're to make sure that the capsule doesn't capsize. It's like water wings, dude. An EJ ad, all right.
Pneumatics have transitioned to helium.
Okay.
There you go. That means we're pressurizing the propellant tanks to flight pressures.
Oh, Uselessium. Dude, History of the World? Mel Brooks is my hero, man. Oh, yeah. No. History of the World ad. I'll take that. That's good. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's perfect target advertisement for this
We'll be
stream.
charging these
look
stage
at my
2
shirt, man.
igniters to flight targets in just about 10 seconds.
There's no payload on board except like the first 3D printed thing that they ever 3D printed, Jadam. It's just a nose cone up at the top. There isn't even a fairing on it right now. Banda E? Nice. Okay. It's an aluminum alloy, Gore-Tex. My guess is that it's some kind of aluminum lithium here. Fast forward, make sure you're in real time. Okay. Yeah. There you go.
We are now getting into the business end of today's countdown.
Press the stage 2 igniter at the flight target.
Arwa, let's go ahead and walk through the launch timeline.
Yeah, sure. At T-minus 3 minutes, the transporter erector will retract just a few degrees to give the proper angle for umbilical separation. At this point, the vehicle will be on
About
internal power.
85%, 04.
At T-minus 70 seconds, the vehicle will go into terminal count.
Yeah, Bella,
This is again
keep
when the
copying me, what
vehicle's
can I say?
internal flight computer takes control of the countdown. We then go into final flight termination checks and get FTS go from the launch conductor in coordination with the mission flight control officer and operation safety manager.
The flight
At
termination system, or
T-minus 6
FTS,
seconds,
is the
we'll
abort.
have ignition of those 9 beautiful 3D printed AN-1 engines, so
bleed.
you'll see the flames beneath the rocket at that point. And at T0, we will have liftoff.
What they're doing right
Shortly
now,
after that, at T plus 2
Thermally
seconds, the
conditioning the
strong
motors.
back will throw back to assist in removing the umbilicals and clear the path for the vehicle to fly vertical. At T plus 12
huzzah.
seconds, we'll begin our pitch over program, and at T plus 80 seconds is that important milestone of max Q, or the point of maximum dynamic pressure. This is again where the structural loads on the vehicle are the highest, making it one of the more challenging phases of flight.
At approximately T plus 160 seconds, we'll have main engine cutoff, or MECO, where the stage 1 engines will shut off, followed shortly by stage separation and the Aeon vacuum engine igniting. Second stage will burn for a little under 5 minutes. And then at approximately T plus 463 seconds, we'll have second
Maybe,
engine
Tessa.
cutoff, or SECO. As a reminder, we do not have a fairing or any payload deployments for this first launch. With that, we'll go ahead and wait and stay tuned with Mission Control.
And once again, we are so honored to be hosting this launch with you all today. I'm Arwa
do,
Tizani
Dee.
Kelly, Technical Program Manager for Test and Launch at Relativity Space.
And I'm Rachelle Aniceto, Chief of Staff for the Vehicle Architecture and Technology team.
So this mission is a test flight, Bubblehead. It's the first flight of this type of rocket. This is the first majority 3D printed rocket to fly. 85% of the Terran 1 rocket is 3D printed. The fuel tanks, most of the engines, the only things that aren't 3D printed are the wiring and like nuts and bolts that are on it. They don't even have a payload fairing up top. They just have a nose cone with Momento in it. This is also an attempt to get the title of the first liquid methane, liquid oxygen rocket ever to make orbit. It's actually kind of a big deal. Can we have a bet if it fails? Gentleman's bet if you want, sure. The second Terran 1 will be even more 3D printed. That's 80% more 3D printing per 3D print. That's almost 90%.
Here we go. The cradle arms slowly started releasing
Okay,
stage
strong
2
back
at the top
retract.
there so that the strong back can retract, and we confirm that stage 2 is now on internal power.
This is from Complex 16 tech. This was Gemini, a pad used for the Gemini missions. And then it was a pad during the Apollo program used to test out the service module for the Apollo capsule. And then it was used for the Pershing missile from 1972, 1973, all the way to 1988. And then it was AIP after that, abandoned in place.
Stage 1 is on internal power. Stage 1 TVC checkout complete.
Thrust vector control checkout is good on the first stage, meaning they're testing the
We just
gimbal
completed
on the
stage
motors.
1 TVC checkouts.
Wiggle
That means
test.
that we performed the final thrust vector control health checks on both
Little bit of ice
stages
came off
before
there.
liftoff. We'll be doing stage 2, or rather completing stage 2, within the next 10 seconds.
Stage 2 TVC checkouts.
Yeah, there's less now than at any point in history, Green. Since the 60s, I should say. The Air Force leased out 3 more pads yesterday. All right. So those are purge downs right there to thermally condition the engines. You got to make sure that the engine is at cooler operating temperatures. You don't want to move your cold
Next
propellants
step will
into
be
a warm
retracting
engine.
the
Bad
strong
idea.
back, and then our range coordinator will ask the range for their status one last time.
So engine, that's what those vent lines were. It's engine thermal conditioning. They are thermal blankets around the nozzle solute. Yes, there is the transporter erector purge. Or nope, that was just a vent. Never mind. Okay, we're about 20 seconds out from auto sequencer start. It's because we're good like that, Blogus. I can't tell you in a minute and 20 seconds.
Rock, report range status.
Range operations coordinator.
Range green.
Range is good. Towers give you permission to launch.
And that was confirmation that the range is green for launch.
Transporter
We are
erector purge out.
almost a minute away.
Auto sequencer start. The clock stopped.
Announcement on countdown net is the LD. We are holding at T-minus 70 seconds prior to terminal count to address issue.
They have an issue. Hold, chat.
All right, you heard Clay Walker, our launch director there. We are holding at
Strong back retracting.
69 seconds to address an issue. We are, however, at the same time retracting our strong back. That black truss structure there is the strong back. It'll retract just a few degrees to prepare for umbilical separation. We'll stand by for further updates from Mission Control, and we'll update you on the hold.
The launch director reported an issue there. I don't think that strong back is going to go into full retraction. They'll probably reclamp it here in a moment. They said they would hold at T-minus 70, but they just said there was an issue. They haven't put the strong back into position here, so we'll see. Yeah, T-minus 69. Nice. Nice. Oh, sorry, dethroned. I don't have control over this. Then they put the strong back. Yeah, alternator, yeah, you're not wrong. If you get the... Well, they didn't get into auto-sequence, dude, so they stopped right before the auto-sequencer engaged. So, this could be... They said they had...
As a reminder of what our launch director said earlier, this is the last opportunity that our team can call a hold. So the team chose to take that option at T-minus 70 seconds and ensure everything is nominal before we go into our terminal count sequence.
The clock has been off all day, Green. That
Again, what
off.
you're looking at in front of you is 85% 3D printed, and it is about to fly. Those white clouds you see coming out of the rocket are due to the venting of the chilled gas from the rocket into the humid Florida air out here. That's why the gas condenses into vapor and looks like clouds.
Hit it with a wrench. Argo, they hit a Titan missile with a wrench in 1980. It didn't end well. No joke, that actually happened. Yeah. Well, they dropped a wrench into it. Yeah. You ever drop a bolt when you're working on a car? Yeah, that, but explosions. So they held right before the auto sequencer. The launch director did say it was because of an issue, but they did say that they would go into a planned hold here if they needed to. So that means they saw something that's not good for launch. So if they had the auto sequencer started, it would have found that problem right away.
I'm hearing that our T-clock will resume in about 1 minute.
Oh, man. Okay.
Announcement on countdown. This is the LD. The T-clock will resume in approximately 20 seconds. Transitioning to terminal count.
Oh, here we go. Once you start the auto sequencer, it's going to take a little while to, if there's something wrong after that, it'll take a little while to turn the rocket around. Not physically, to get everything ready to go again. Yeah, it's possible, Tate. Yeah.
As a reminder, from here on out, when the T-clock resumes, our countdown sequence will be automated and controlled by the internal flight computer.
Willie, it's my jam, dude. It's what I do, man. I love this stuff. It's my favorite. My favorite. That was a fish with flamethrower. My favorite. It's a 200 by 210 kilometer circular orbit. It's a low Earth orbit parking. Pretty standard for a test mission. We should have had a resume on the count by now.
Discovery.
Pre-roll ads are disabled for 20 minutes, Tessa, so we have a little bit of time. Black Raptor, 96 months, go Terran 1. Yeah, let's see what we got. The launch director is running the mission, Biff. He's the guy with the low voice on the countdown loop. No, S, go away. Man, you guys are jonesing for a launch. Y'all are jonesing over there. It's kind of windy. Wind doesn't seem to be a constraint here, Giant, which I'm a little befuddled by. Yeah, it's befuddled. Is it NASA, SpaceX? It's not either, Biff. It's Relativity. Relativity Space. This is their first orbital attempt, dude. I keep hearing a 3D printer going off. Yeah. You have any news from... I missed it. I couldn't read fast enough.
We are extending the hole just a little bit longer. We're going to stand by for further updates from Mission Control.
Announcement on Countdown Net with the LD. We have had a terminal count aboard, saving the vehicle and assessing recycle options.
Yep, they tried to initiate auto sequencer, and the auto sequencer held it right away. It's going to take a second to recycle now. That's not a scrub, it's just a recycle. They still have time in the launch window.
You heard that announcement from
Yes,
our
Rick.
launch director. We're going to have an update momentarily as to what happened with our automated abort.
If they recycle Tessa, it'll be their last attempt. Well, the launch window opened up at 1, and it's a 3-hour window, so we have until 4 o'clock. It's 2:45 right now, so there is still time for another attempt, guys. It's not a scrub. They've just held. They tried to initiate autosequencer start, and the autosequencer saw something that it didn't like. That happens. It happens. So now they got to figure out what the autosequencer said it didn't like and try and fix that problem. You got about an hour and 15 minutes to do that. Where are they launching from? This is Space Launch Complex 16 at Cape Canaveral Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. Sorry, old habit. What would happen if it went the wrong way? Range termination, dethrone. There's an abort button, the flight termination system. Flight termination system, if it reads off an off-nominal trajectory, it'll blow the rocket up. It'll unzip it. Seriously, there's cord. There's usually detonator cord that goes down the side of a rocket that'll literally unzip the tanks to get it to stop flying towards populated areas. No, Giant, I don't think it's open source.
If you're just joining us, we did have an automated abort at T-minus 70 seconds.
Yeah, Nico, for sure.
The team is currently assessing if we're able to recycle, since we are still within our launch window. So we'll provide that update as soon as we have confirmation from Mission Control.
Not all flight termination systems are an autonomous system, Vagabond. Some of them still use manual range safety termination. In fact, even the ones with the AFTS still have manual as a redundant backup. That's just probably a good measure just in case. This one, they said they don't have an AFTS. They said that they just have a regular flight termination system on the countdown loop. So I'm guessing that there's the range guys watching this thing. Actually, this is a shutdown abort rocket. Det cord. Okay? No, Taco, they haven't said anything about wind. They said the wind conditions are good. That's why, people keep saying, oh, it looks too windy. I mean, they don't think so it's their rocket, dude. Are these rough details on the rocket from 3D printing? Well, that's the ice accumulating on it, Zenider. That's ice on there. But yeah, the rocket does have that weird kind of banding thing going on. Strong back moved into the retracted position. They're gonna recycle the count. They're gonna restart it. They'll recycle the count, and when they recycle the count, this clock will go back to 10 minutes, and they'll start from 10 minutes again. Sometimes you just got to do that. You don't want to put the rocket into what's called a failure mode. All right, so if you try to initiate the auto sequencer, don't just try to do it again. If you try to, now the rocket is in a condition that you're not expecting. The countdown doesn't call for initiating the auto sequencer twice. Don't do that. So what they do is you kind of go back to your last stable point, right? You revert the rocket back to the T-minus 10 minute conditions and then go again. What is the mission and is the specification of the rocket? This is Relativity Space with their Terran 1 rocket. It's the first 3D rocket to have the majority of the components 3D printed. It's launching from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station from Complex 16. It's also an attempt at the first Methalox rocket to make it into space. This is the first flight, dudes. That's why this is such a big deal. So what exactly is the benefit of 3D printing a rocket? You can do it faster. 3D printing will lower production times on a rocket, and that could lead to rocket mass production, which could lead to a lower cost access to space. Yeah, firework, it did. Mm-hmm. That's right, Modern Inferno. You got it, buddy. Yep. Will they be reusable? Their first couple of rockets, useless, are going to be in an expendable thing, but they're going to move to full reuse eventually, yes. It's not PLA freaking, no. They're 3D printing with aluminum, an aluminum alloy. So if I had to guess, it's probably aluminum lithium. An aluminum lithium alloy. That's what's kind of an industry standard, but they're 3D printing it instead of taking like sheets of aluminum and making it into a cylinder. Yeah, no, it's not PET-G or PLA or ABS. Don't worry. I wouldn't be near it if it was PLA. I'd be like, yeah, that's not going to work. I'll be over here. Bye. You guys have fun with that. Nah, it's ABS for sure. Dude, even if it was ABS, I'd be like, nah, I'm not. Nah, I'll be over here. You guys can do your thing. What could be the problem? Virtually anything? Biff, they haven't given me enough data. All I know is that they went to initiate the auto sequencer, and the auto sequencer immediately said, no. Why don't you ask me later, Crabsy? Yeah, Aqualex, that doesn't sound fun at all. How does 3D printed aluminum resist that much pressure? It's not laser sintered, Max, but aluminum is super freaking strong as long as it doesn't get too warm. Aluminum's very strong. Very strong. He's very strong. Gromny strong. Yeah, Olivier, right? Kimmy coming back to NASCAR at COTA. Very nice. That's cool.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Eddie Stone. Welcome to Mission Control. Your go with throttle up. Thanks for the Prime sub, dude. Thanks for all the support today, guys. I really appreciate it. Thank God the rocket is, I went to go launch it and it didn't launch. That's alarming, human person, but alright. Yeah, guys, be patient. There's still plenty of time in the launch window. They can recycle. If this thing got down to like T-5 and then it held, I would be kind of skeptical of them recycling the count. But there's still about an hour and 10 minutes left in the launch window, so that is enough time to recycle. I think they're going to try again. Do private companies build their rocket on site, and what's the expense to rent the facilities? Well, to lease out a pad, Biff, it's on a contractual basis. So if it's contractual, it means it depends. It depends on the price point, how much you want to lease it for. And usually those price points aren't discussed. But since it's on contract, it's on a contractual basis. That makes it a complex sale. So, yeah, we'll probably never know. Launching question, Charles. Do you want to launch the rocket now or later? Question. Charles, I know you're trying to fight for the lead, but I have to ask, what kind of spaghetti do you want for dinner? Question. We're moving to plan
Once
B.
again, we had an automated abort at T-minus 70 seconds. Our launch director and our teams in mission control are currently assessing the recycle options that we have for today since we're currently still within our launch window. We're standing by to hear that update from Clay Walker.
Yeah, freaking she heard you, dude. You are the host whisperer. Mom Spaghetti, thank you. Synonymous, I see you're a man of taste. The rocket looks nervous, but it looks calm spaghetti to drop bombs, but it keeps on spaghettiing. It opens the nozzle, but spaghetti won't come out. What? Sorry. Would it be easy to get a new launch window? Well, you have to file a flight plan with, curious, you have to file a flight plan with the range, okay? So the range, you'll hear them say that on the countdown loops, ROC or RC, the range coordinator, the range operations coordinator. So this, think of this area, so Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, kind of like an airport, okay? But it's an airport for rockets, spaceport, right? And what they do is they file flight plans in a flight window to launch the rocket. Obviously, you don't want two rockets launching at once, unless that's planned. You don't want that. Like airplanes taking off on a runway, right? Filing a new flight plan, it could be as easy as tomorrow. But see, what they do is they file a flight, Relativity, if they were smart, and they are, they probably have filed a flight plan for today and tomorrow, just in case they need a 24-hour hold. Sometimes it could be something as stupid as a bolt not being tightened down all the way on the rocket. Sometimes you just gotta send a guy out there, tighten the freaking bolt, and then come back. Usually that requires not keeping the rocket unfueled. You don't want people near the fully fueled rocket, especially a test rocket. But there are other cases where the rocket is in a safe condition when it's actually fully fueled. And then, like SLS, you send a couple of guys out there with some high-vis jackets on to go tighten down a bolt and then send the rocket after they leave. Yeah, that's happened before. Sometimes you need a 24-hour scrub, right? But they will file a flight plan for tomorrow as well, just in case. Everyone does that. SpaceX does that, NASA does that, everybody does that. The reason why you have to file the flight plan is because you have to, yeah, that's a giant unicorn. I was actually getting into that. And this kind of ropes into pilots. They basically have to shut down the airspace where the rocket's going to travel. You don't want your rocket hitting an airplane on the way up. Just like when an airplane takes off, you don't want any other airplanes kind of in the vicinity, right? It's a pretty smart idea. So they have to file a TFR, a temporary flight restriction. And so pilots know not to fly there at this time. And the waters too. Yeah, they got to make sure that the nautical traffic is clear. You don't want boats off the coast when the rocket launches. EJ just wanted to talk about Red Team. Red Team is baller, man. Airplanes receive a NOTAM. That's right. The temporary flight restriction shows up as a NOTAM. I forget what NOTAM stands for off the top of my head, Squawk. Pilot friends, just help me out. I know what it is, I know what it does, and I know about TFRs, but I forget what notice to air missions. There you go. That's it. Thank you. Notice to airmen. There you go. Notice to aviators. All right, there you go. Thank you, fellas. Notice to air missions in capital letters from the pilots. Well, there you go. That's a notice. Don't fly here during this time or else you'll get hit by a rocket. Well, actually, no. If somebody violates the airspace, they'll scrub the launch immediately. Or they'll recycle and be like, hey, can you get out of here? And then maybe call this phone number after? Like, dude, that actually has happened. There have been people that are sailing around that sail into the restricted area, and yeah, we call it wayward boat. That's absolutely happened. And the Coast Guard has to go out there and be like, hey, It's your friend, Coast Guard. Can you get the frick out of here, please? Oh, why? Why? You should have checked the notices, buddy. Get the frick out of here. You're being illegal right now. Scram, kid. Get out of here. Dude, it's happened. Oh, that's happened before, sure. Ooh, 4640 on the hold. Okay. We're going to need another cup of coffee. We're going to need a fresh pot. I'll be right back. Chat, update me. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee. I'll be back.
All right, I just received confirmation that we are going to recycle, and we have an updated T0 time of 15:55 Eastern. So again, that's 15:55 Eastern, approximately 45 minutes from now. We're gonna keep going. To provide an update on the cause of the previous automated abort, the stage 2 oxygen temperatures were out of limits, so that's why we had that abort at T minus 70 seconds. Now we're going to resolve this issue and continue on with our recycled and new T0 time of 15:55 Eastern.
Shark. How about you finish that lamp? You were the chosen one. All right, so guys, I have chat and the stream open in the kitchen It's in my garage where the kitchen is. Yeah, stage two locks. I'm wondering if they're using super chilled liquid oxygen. They might be. No one usually has this much trouble with liquid oxygen unless they were using a super chilled formula. I saw it, Rain. Thank you. Somebody better replant that tree on the right. Bad landscaping. Check DMs. I sent you a clip of what you missed. Oh, well, thank you. I think I got it, Riv, but I appreciate it, buddy. I had it open. I have the stream open in the other room with audio. We're good. 9 p.m. here. I hope they'll make it before I go to bed. Yeah, European bros are like... So, if we're 42 out, they're targeting the end of the launch window. Yeah, like I said, probably enough time for one more attempt if you get a full recycle like that. Hey, Stabby, what's going on? Yep. It's only 10 p.m. But yeah, thanks guys for cluing me in. I appreciate it. Except you, Grab Shark. Everyone else, though. What does a recycle mean? Shank Wolf, it's a cool spacey way of saying they're going to try to launch it again. Yeah. We're going to recycle account here. Yeah, there's a lot of weird spacey terms that mean just pretty plain English stuff. They're going to try one more time. 7 a.m. in Dollary-Do land. Good way to start the day, mate. All right. So yeah, guys, this vent right here, see that big vent right there? See how it's venting from the transporter erector? From basically ground service equipment and not the rocket? If it's the TE vent like that, second stage. That's the second stage TE oxidizer vent, meaning that, yeah, they're having trouble. That kind of correlates with what's going on here. They're having trouble keeping that line cold. And it looks like there's some gaseous oxygen getting into the tank a little bit because the stage 2 oxidizer is not at the right temperature. Once again, I'm wondering if they're using densified liquid oxygen. So you can super chill liquid oxygen if you really want to. It is a lot harder to use if you're super chilling it. Like get oxygen basically to the point where it's past the liquid and almost to like a snow cone. Like slushy consistency. Basically, like, it's basically how water is at like 1C. It's kind of slushy, I guess. If you're using densified propellants like that, you can theoretically get more performance out of the engines because you can get more oxidizer in the same volume. Get more oxidizer in the same volume, you can deliver more oxidizer to the engines, deliver more fuel to the engines, get a bigger boom. Pretty straightforward stuff. But densified propellants are really, really difficult because if you go too far in one direction, you get solid oxygen. And trying to feed solid oxygen into a liquid motor would be like throwing a rock at a jet engine that's on. Not a good idea. Yeah, that would be... Yeah, let's just throw this rock into the intake. I'm sure nothing will happen. That would be very bad. But if you go too far the other way, you're going to get gas. You're going to get gaseous oxygen, and you won't get the performance that you need. So your rocket won't make it into space. So you have to really hit the bullseye on that temperature if you're using super chilled liquid oxygen. I'm not sure if they are. They haven't said anything about it, but they might be. Yeah, feeding solid oxygen into your engines is known as not a pro gamer move. Yeah, it's not very pro gamer of them. Falcon uses super chilled. Yep. Imagine cryogenic SRBs. That would be something. Could they 3D print the Strongback? I don't see why not. It wouldn't be very cash money of them. Yep. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern here, which is why I made more coffee. They moved up 1555 to 1545. Thanks, Muka. Okay. Yeah, Zoo, they saw something they didn't like and basically started over. With rockets, dude, when you go to launch a rocket, there are certain, like, save points, if you will, right? And if you go too far past that save point and you see something you don't like and you stop, go back to start. Bobby, I'm good. My back's good today. I spent all night on the heating pad, dude. I'm good, man. We're good.
Go and throttle up.
We should have a recycle counter. Hey, Gene. What's up, buddy? Hey, how are you today? The engine's rare ox-rich close. It's open cycle methyl ox, Lava Eagle. Interesting, right? Quick save and quick load. Yeah, basically. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Yep. What would happen if you put deep fried vegetable oil with all of its sediment in a diesel car? Steam? The injectors would jam. Yeah, it would work for a little while. Then you'd clog up the injectors, which is why diesel vehicles have multiple fuel filters in line on the fuel pump. Yeah, Zoo, this one is about 85% 3D printed. Yep. The engines would be very deep fried after that. Yep. Yeah, diesel vehicles have multiple fuel filters in line. Don't get me wrong, so do gas cars. Gasoline cars have a fuel filter, but diesels have more. You need a cardio dieselologist. Right. The music is too artificial hype for you? Not efficient enough music to excite your emotions, human. Oh, I see how it is. I see how it is, mein Freund. What company is launching this? Relativity, man. Top right. Relativity Space is the company here. This is the Terran 1 rocket. This first test flight is called Good Luck, Have Fun. GLHF. Not even kidding. That's the name. The guy that founded Relativity Space is a gentleman by the name of Tim Ellis. He's a StarCraft. Not a professional StarCraft player, but he's a big StarCraft fan. So, Terran 1 is the name of the rocket. Seriously. Sure, Riv. Yeah. Yeah, their sound production is all over the place, dude. I keep having to turn up the sound to hear the casters, and then the music is overdriven slightly. I can see it on the OBS channels. Their music is overdriven, but the announcers are underdriven. So it's like when you're watching television and you get the commercial, and the commercial is a lot louder. It's like, oh, shut up! Stop doing that. So this is Terran V oxygen issue. Yeah. Is this rocket model printable on Thingiverse? No. With an injector pump, Aqualex, yeah, diesels can pretty much run off anything, yeah. Where's that thing about propane? Well, this is methane. Methane is kind of propane, but it's kind of not. Another new T0. Yeah, they're moving up in the count, interestingly enough. Yeah, that's right, Easy. Yep. Why so many holes? It's the first flight, and you want to make sure you can maximize your odds of success flying. I don't think it's anything to be worried about. If they see something they don't like, they might scrub for the day. If everything goes well, everything might be good. But they're having trouble keeping the liquid oxygen in the second stage cool right now. Yeah, that voice that you do. Where is it from? This one right here, boy? It's King of the Hill, man. No? Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? I just want a picture of a goddamn hot dog. It's coming back, freaking, from what I understand, dude. But yeah, I know what you mean. Hell, you giblet head. What if they want their steaks well done? Well, we ask them politely but firmly to leave. I just want a picture of a goddamn hot dog. Now do Boomhauer. Tell you what, man, we're gonna take that dang old rocket, man. We're gonna fly that thing. We're gonna piss out the steam out the side. And we're gonna take that rocket, man, and get the clock to T0, and then we're gonna fly it, man. That ain't gonna shoot, man. That ain't gonna woo up into space. I tell you what. Okay, freaking sure. Hey, whatever, man. whatever I do. But I want to earn it, you know what I'm saying? They released the Artemis DLC for Minecraft. How do you do, fellow kids? There's water in the exhaust. What's the objective of this mission? X Factor, it's a test flight. Test flight, dude. Good times have been had here. Right on. Oh gosh, I know, please. Check Skyvector, you can see the TFR in the NOTAM here. The notice to air missions. Giant Unicorn, I ain't gonna forget what that means now, Jeff. Half a chat spammed it, dude. I ain't gonna forget what that means now. Dude, sometimes, like, it's the strangest thing. I could sit here and talk about, like, cryogenic propellant management, and then somebody's like, what does NOTAM stand for? And I'm like, I swear I'm good at this. What is a NOTAM? It's a notice to air missions, dad joke. It basically shows the cordoned off flight area where the rocket's going to be ascending so you don't fly into it when it's launching. If you even violate that airspace, there will be a number for you to call. Do we have any expectations when Starship will be tested? Cosmo, I've been hearing the end of this month. That's what I've been hearing. No guarantees. Coast Guard. Yep, Coast Guard. That's fine. I was gonna say, like, that guy violated the airspace, but it's the Coast Guard. That's fine. The orange stripe on the helicopter on that SH-60 was a dead giveaway. Why doesn't there seem to be NOTAMs for the landing regions for Falcons? Oh, there absolutely is, Bellum. Oh yeah, there absolutely is. You do not want to be near that. Well, technically a NOTAM is put out to tell pilots about a TFR, that is the airspace limit. You're a NOTAM. That's right, yep. Didn't this get aborted? Well, they saw something they didn't like of City, but they're going to try it again. They still have about 46 minutes left in the count here. Left until the window closes. They have the airspace reserved for basically another 45 minutes. And they're going to try one more attempt on the day. If they don't get it, it might be tomorrow, might be the day after. It depends on what the problem is. And right now, Relativity's actually been pretty forthcoming. They're having trouble keeping the propellants cold. If you notice, that thing is covered in ice. It's covered in a lot of ice. You can tell because of the way it is. The propellants they're using are cryogenic, fully cryogenic propellants, so that's a really nice way of saying it's really, really cold. And they're having trouble keeping it cold. It's warm in Florida. And it's the first flight of this vehicle, so hopefully they're learning something here about prop management. Negative. I am a meat popsicle. Nah, that's white paint. So are you. Rick. Turn the AC on, easy fix. Bro, are you a wizard? Are you a wizard? If you touch the side of the rocket right now, what would happen to your hand? Do you remember in A Christmas Story, Zeno, when the kid licks the pipe? Something like that, but worse. You're a lizard, Jerry. Yeah, something like that. It's only 78. Yeah, right, got it. It's not too bad. Popsicle hand. You know in like Terminator 2, when the T-1000 gets caked by the liquid nitrogen and then he shatters into a billion pieces? That. Yeah, you don't want, instant death for whatever's touching it. Yeah, the thing's really cold. You don't want to touch it. Don't lick it. Not good. Not a good idea. Terminator's like, huh? No, nothing. We weren't talking about you. Before that happens, they'd get arrested. Yeah, I guess. I mean, we're more talking about the physics behind doing that, Signer, not necessarily the implications there. Not me. You get somebody else to lick it. All right, sounds good, man. It's not gonna be me. You are currently inside the rocket. Beep, you want to keep watching this stream. Lay off the drugs. Okay. Starfield has a release date. Thoughts? Synonymous, it looks cool, but I really hope it's just not going to be Fallout in space, but who knows? I'll probably play it, but see, like, I'll play it so you guys can watch me play it and then see if it's any good. That's right, Birdman, yep. Son, you want to keep working here. Lay off the drugs. The Giants of New York took on the Packers of Green Bay In the end, the Giants triumphed by kicking an oblong ball made of pigskin through a big H. It was the most gripping victory. I want to see the pretty views in the game. Hopefully it looks good. Yeah, I'm hoping, Shady. I'm hoping. Any plans for a new Stationeer server? I have no plans for that right now. Yeah, Grav, I know. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about. It's flight termination system. I don't think it has AFTS Forge. How's that new Christmas Story film? I don't know. You forgot to watch it last year? Yeah, I think we all did. Of course, I've seen the trailer for Cities. Yep. Yeah, we're playing that. Hello from Germany. What are the 4 pipes around the launch pad? These guys right here are lightning rods. They're lightning rods. Because yeah, you get a lot of thunderstorms in Florida. You don't want thunder and lightning hitting that. That would be bad. Yeah. So they put lightning rods around the pads. What was the last movie you watched? Don't know. Yeah, looks fair. Thoughts? I don't know, man. Let me look. It looks good. It's just a block of like red highlighted text. The whole chat is just tagged with just a bunch of V tags. I have to go through. I'm like, you know. Why are some rocket nose cones very pointy and some are more blunt? It depends on how fast the thing moves through the atmosphere, right? The fairing is shaped like that to be able to punch through the atmosphere at different speeds. Bruh. Not bruh, buh. Differences. It must be pointy. It's not pointy enough. You have to make it more pointy. Buh. We'll play KSP a little bit later, Doom. Yeah, sure. Buh. Make it more pointy. It's not pointy enough. It has to be more pointy. Around is not scary. Hello, I salute you all from the Netherlands. Bedankt. Light, thank you. Buh moment.
Everyone, we are currently at T-minus 23 minutes and 56 seconds. We're currently waiting for an update from Mission Control. Let's continue listening in and stand by.
Yeah, Electric Cans, there's a lot riding on this mission, you know? Yeah. That's why I love watching test flights. This is my favorite, man. When is the next Starship launch? High-Vi's tentatively last week of this month. Tentatively. So put a big asterisk next to that.
Announcement on Countdown Net, this is the LD. All parties, we are scrubbing operations for the day. Thanks for playing.
Did he really just say that?
All right, you just heard that update from Mission Control. We are unfortunately scrubbing today's operations. We're going to stand by for additional details from Clay Walker.
Oof. Yeah, they couldn't get that. They couldn't get the cryo management on the second stage figured out. No good. No smile that time. Yep. Yeah, that sucks, dudes. It happens though. Fishing mailed. Mission failed. We'll get him next time. So for the folks that don't understand, what's a scrub? A scrub is a nice way of saying we're not flying today. They scrubbed it from the calendar. That's where that term comes from. You scrubbed it off the board. So you had a launch schedule today. It was on the schedule, and then you erased it. You scrubbed it off the board. That's where the saying comes from. Scrub is a nice way of saying they're not launching. Why? Well, if you really, with this stuff, it's really all about maximizing your odds of success, especially with a test flight. You really want to make sure that this thing works. So if you can't get something figured out and something on the rocket isn't like as close to 100% good to go as it could be, don't even bother. Just wait another day. You can always try tomorrow. You don't want to send it with an off-nominal condition or a condition that's not like absolute best case scenario, because one, that'll screw up your testing data, right? Because with the analysis on launching this thing, somebody did the math behind getting this whole thing into space, right? If the math calls for making sure that your tank is at 100% fuel and you launch it at 99% fuel, you're going to have a little bit of a problem. Especially, even if it does make it into space, it's not really good data. That's junk data because you didn't corroborate your analysis. That's no good. The math doesn't check out. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So you don't want to do that. You want to maximize your odds of success. And if anything is even a little bit out of family, so like not what you're really looking for, don't even bother. Just send it another day. You can always try again. But if you sent it with off-nominal conditions and it blows up, well, it's going to take a while before you get another attempt. So scrubs happen, dude. I mean, obviously we want to be like TLC and we don't want no scrubs, but sometimes you just shouldn't go chasing waterfalls. I feel your judgment through the camera. I feel it. I feel it through the camera right now. I feel the judgment through the camera. Yeah, admit for sure, man. Disappointed. Yeah, it's a little rough. I see you, fellow old person. Yep. Just dated myself, Cat, didn't I? Let's just creep. What are you Are you TLC, right? I have no idea what you mean. Are you sure you aren't doing that on purpose? No, I have no idea what you're talking about. Hey, Angel, what's going on? You feel it? Good, because I was most definitely staring at you right there. I know, I could feel the judgment. I could feel it through the camera, man. When was your last desk pop? Oh, I don't know. At least we got good music. So SpaceX takes priority now? SpaceX takes priority tomorrow. Come on, mouse. Get to the other monitor. Thank you. So tomorrow we have a launch at 2:13 p.m. It's OneWeb 17 launching on Falcon 9. And then on the 11th there's Electron. So they might not do a 24-hour scrub, but maybe launch on Friday. It really depends. We'll wait. We'll wait here for a moment before the casters sign off from this, and we'll see what they're up to. You need a scrub emote. I told you I don't want no scrubs emote. Did you just scream America? America! This is just a test flight, Cat, so there's not anything on board. It's just an empty nose cone up at the top. Where's the countdown? Countdown stopped orbital exploit. They decided to scrub for the day, which does kind of suck, but told you. Yeah. Salute. Let's not pretend like Let's not pretend like you know something that we don't. You said it was going to scrub because of weather. Nice try, though. Have you done your desk pop yet?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Unfortunately, we just got word from the launch teams. We're scrubbing for today's launch temp due to A, remove that and put in her.
Oh, yep, they queued the mics too early. The momento. Yeah, you're right. What do you think about fake NASA videos? I don't, ZMS. I don't. Oh! A lot of ice fell off there. Got a hot mic on countdown 1. No, Ando, their first cast attempt is actually quite good. We're scrubbed, balls. Yeah, Cosmo. Yeah, no, very, very good cast, believe it or not. Yeah, they had a little trouble with mixing the audio, but other than that, really good. Yep, they're venting down there, getting all the fuel out of the rocket. They're basically going through what's called safing procedures, where you return the rocket to an inert state, basically get all the fuel out of it. What Thomas said, username. Hazanku for sure, yeah. See how the methane flame is really big? They're venting the tanks. And obviously the oxidizer tank is venting as well because of the big oxidizer cloud. Where does the fuel go? It boils off, Wasp. It just turns to gas. It's no problem. Fuel is an inconsequential cost. Not inconsequential. It still costs you something. But think about it like buying a car versus filling a car up with gas, right? Filling a car up with fuel is not as expensive as buying the damn thing.
Unfortunately scrubbed for today. While we obviously had high hopes for sending our Terran 1 off today, we're going to continue to take a measured approach so we can ultimately see this rocket off to max Q and beyond.
Once we have an update on the timing for our next launch attempt, we will share that via Twitter at Relativity Space. We hope you will join us again soon to see the world's first 3D printed rocket fly. I am Rachel Aniceto.
And I'm Arwa Tizani Kelly. Thank you, and see you next time.
No, thank you. Oof. Sysis, I'll update you guys here when we hear word from it. I'll update you here. Well, that kind of sucks, but hey, better safe than sorry. At least the thing's still in one piece. So they're obviously not going to launch tomorrow, but I would say they could try for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. I mean, I don't see any other launches on the books for them, but yeah. That happens, guys. Yeah, you got to be patient with rockets. It is what it is, dudes. But I hope you guys enjoyed the launch coverage. I try to do this for most, if not all, the launches going out of North America. So, and we do cover Europe and Japan as well. Sometimes Russian launches, but not so much lately. But yeah, try to cover every rocket launch. You want to come in here and learn about rockets? I got you. I like answering the question, even if I get asked the same question 30, 40 times. It doesn't bother me. So. Yep, this is Human Space Program, not KSP. No reverts. That's right. But speaking of KSP, we should jump into it. But we do have another launch tomorrow. Falcon 9 Block 5, or just Falcon 9. Falcon 9 with OneWeb 17 is launching tomorrow at 2:13 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're about 23 hours out from that OneWeb launch. It's going from Slick 40, so it's a pad that's just up the road from LC-16. Actually, say up the road. It's a good ways away, but you get the idea. Relativity is reverting to VAB, but they don't have a VAB. They have a HIF, Horizontal Integration Facility. Did they cancel? Yeah, Eddie, they did. Thanks for the sub, dude. I do appreciate it. Thank you, everybody that bit tips and subbed. I hope you enjoy the launch cast, guys. So, I'm gonna shift gears here. We'll turn the page and we'll get into finishing building out our Eve mission, or our Eve flyby mission in KSP. I'm just gonna take 5 real quick, yeah, we'll get into building that. So let's pop over to Kerbal. There's still plenty of stream left. Oh yeah, we got another 6-7 hours of stream.